Donald Trump has announced a new policy position, no tax on overtime. It's brilliant. I support it. Every single libertarian in the country is probably clapping, and they support it because they're getting rid of taxes. So Donald Trump says no tax on tips. Nye says no tax on overtime. I'm a big fan. It's a big move. I wonder how long until Kamala Harris adopts the same position. But interestingly, while the political class does keep pushing that Kamala Harris won the debate, I don't think they're asking themselves what it means to win the debate, because they're looking at decorum, they're looking at behavior, they're looking at Trump's attitude, and certainly I would agree if that's the metric. However, CNN ran a flash poll that found when it came to issues of the economy, people who favored Trump lightly favored him more afterwards on the economy. Now, Kamala Harris wants more debates, and Trump said no. Interesting question. Does Kamala want more debates because she did so well, she wants to keep battering Trump, or does she want another debate because she missed her opportunity to articulate an economic position and Trump realizes he can't give her that opportunity? So we're going to talk about that. The betting markets, wow, Poly Markets got a 74% chance for Kamala, but Nate Silver's got 60% for Donald Trump. Yo, we're in the final stretches, 54 days to go until the election. And then I got to give a shout out to Matt Walsh. He's doing the Lord's work. Several prominent DEI personalities have disabled their X accounts following the trailers for Am I Racist? And now we have a statement from Robin DiAngelo, this DEI writer. I got to tell you, it kind of looks like she's trying to gear up for some kind of fraud claim. But let's be real. If she were to sue Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire, it would make them more famous and it'd make them more money. So we'll talk about all of that. But before we do, my friends, head over to CastBrew.com. We got great coffee. We got Appalachian Nights, and we're officially sold out of all of the Mr. Bokus pumpkin spice experience. To all of our fans who bought the final batch, just know, keep the bag. Once you're done with that coffee, fold the bag up and keep it as a souvenir, because this one will never exist again. The next bag will only ever be the in memoriam Focus with Mr. Bokus. And so the original press of the Mr. Bokus pumpkin spice bags were when he was a living mascot. And in his memory, we are creating a special blend for him, for espresso. And this bag will never exist. So castbrew.com. Also, head over to timcast.com, click join us, or sign up to become a member and support our work directly. We will have a big update for you next week on our lawsuit against the Kamala Harris campaign. It is ongoing. There have been some moves, but I got to let the lawyers do their thing. Trust me when I say we're going very, very fast relative to how these things normally go. But I want to make sure you know that we have not stopped our efforts there. If you'd like to support us, timcast.com, become a member, but also smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all of your friends. Right now, joining us to talk about this and everything else is Joel Valdez.
Thanks so much for having me. Hey, everyone. My name is Joel Valdez. For those who don't know me, I am a pro-Trump MAGA operative in Washington, D.C. For the past 4.5 years, I served as communications director for the great Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida. And as of this week, I'm starting as senior advisor for Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. So glad to be back on Timcast. Thank you guys for having me. If you want to follow me at Real Joel Valdez, and happy to be back in the show.
Yeah, man. Congrats on the promotion, dude. That's fantastic. I am Ian Crossland, internet video gamer, streamer, also musician, actor, social media developer. I'm really happy to be back. Good to be here too.
Yeah, it's fun to have you, Joel. We had your new boss on earlier this week. She watched the pre-show for the debate with us. So I'm glad you could join us in our new studio. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. That's Scanner News. Check out all of their work at Timcast News on the internet. Let's get started.
Here's the big story from Reuters.com. Trump says he will end all taxes on overtime. I love where we're going. Trump says no taxes on tips. I agree. Kamala Harris comes out and says, oh, yeah, no taxes on tips, too. So Trump tries to undercut her by saying, oh, yeah, no taxes on overtime. She's going to have to come out and entertain the same policy. Trump's then going to come out and say 20% off taxes. We are looking at market competition towards the end of taxation. Is he going to, I wonder if he's going to keep one-upping Kamala, or she's trying to copy him, so he keeps one-upping her until he gets to the point where he goes, okay, fine, flat tax. Flat sales tax, no income tax. That's where we're going.
No, I love where this is going. It's eventually going to have to get to that point where abolish the federal income tax or abolish the IRS. I think these sound like great ideas, and I think we're on that path.
At a rally, he said, quote, as part of our additional tax cuts, we will end all taxes on overtime. Your overtime hours will be tax-free. That's the right move.
It is. That's
Absolutely.
incredible.
But do you think Kamala Harris will now rip this policy off?
Yep.
I think that's her signature move right now. And it's interesting because she in no way is ever setting the trend. He is always leading. She is always following. That should tell you right now, for someone who took forever to release her policies, she should really just admit that she will do whatever Donald Trump tells her to.
Yeah. He wants to get rid of tax on Social Security too, right? That was another. I saw a super chat already.
He's talked about that before, I think.
So these are, while you're pulling that up, I imagine this is overtime. This is just income tax. No more income tax on your overtime. Not that the company doesn't have to pay payroll tax or anything.
This is true. This is from a few days ago, actually. Trump also promised to end taxes on Social Security. I knew I'd seen it somewhere.
Jeez.
And it makes sense. It's insane to tax Social Security.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Unemployment, too. You pay taxes to make sure that you get to receive unemployment. And then when you receive your unemployment, you're supposed to pay taxes on that again, on something you've already paid taxes on to get. Doesn't make sense. It's a double dip.
Agreed. It makes no sense. So Trump is leading the charge on getting rid of people's taxes. And I think it's fairly obvious when you cut taxes, the economy improves. Generally speaking.
Yeah.
I
think it's what voters need to hear right now, that there is a potential for relief to come because so many people are struggling economically, struggling to keep up with inflation and also to keep up with the demoralization, right? If you feel like you're being told by the government, oh, but buying power is up, but you're saying, well, I am still paying a ton for everything and it seems to only be getting worse. Hearing that someone actually wants to make your life easier is what you need.
I think this would cost the government a bunch of money because they're not going to be taking in income tax on overtime, but it would save the citizens a lot of money, which then could incentivize them to spend it in other realms where they're going to be putting the money back into the government through other forms of taxation. I guess that's the plan. I don't know what his numbers are and how much he intends for the government to lose in the immediate and then recoup in the long run.
I can just tell you this, that I used to have to work overtime all the time. So working out of O'Hare, you had what's called mandatory overtime. So as part of the union contracts, if you're working there was the morning shift and the night shift. So this is ramp, this is loading planes, pushing back planes, things like that. You get in at 1:30, you're out by 10. But if your plane is delayed, you have no choice. You are required by your contract to stay. We call it mandatory overtime. And some people like it. Most people hated it. And that's why we hated working the night shift. But the morning shift was 5:30 until 1. So for a lot of people, it's like, it's pretty brutal to have to choose 5:30 in the morning. If you want to work 1:30 and then work tonight, you're going to get hit with overtime. I got to tell you, if I had been working and Trump came out and said this, I'd have been like, that right there, nothing else matters. That got my vote.
I mean, Trump is consistently proving that he's the change candidate in this race.
Absolutely.
And it also, I think, reaffirms that he is the leader of the Republican Party because, Trump comes out with the brilliant policy followed by members of Congress introducing legislation almost immediately. I think when President Trump first said no tax on tips, Congressman Matt Gaetz introduced legislation that followed it immediately with the Social Security I think it was Congressman Thomas Massey introduced the Senior Citizens Tax Elimination Act, so that there is an elimination of the unjust double tax, which Congresswoman Boebert's also a co-sponsor on. And so it's great to see that President Trump leads the charge. We have members of Congress backing him up, and neocons in shambles.
I got a question about this. Is it no tax on just because of overtime, time and a half? It's basically what you're getting, time and a half. So you get paid $10 an hour. You're going to be getting paid $15 for your overtime hours. Is this just tax free on those extra $5 on that extra 50%, or is this
tax free on every 15?
Wow.
Yeah, because he said overtime hours. He didn't say overtime pay. So imagine this: it's at this point now. I think I'd be interested to check in with my old jobs and see how much they're paying now. Because when I was there, it was like $10 an hour. You were loading planes, you're getting $10 an hour. You do overtime, you get 15, but who cares? Because they're like, but you're getting taxed on a percentage. So it's just, everybody rolls their eyes like, thank you for the extra $10 to make it so I can't get home and go to bed. And I got to wake up in the morning. And what I would add is when I worked at the airport, I like to do 4 shifts in 2 days. Get in at 5:30, leave by 10. Be there the whole day. Because then you can get as many hours as you can in, and then you have the rest of the week for whatever the projects you're working on, whatever you want to do. But you always get hit with that mandatory overtime. If you're getting $10 an hour, and then you're only taking home 8, but now they say, but don't worry, if you work overtime, you're going to be getting basically double your pay because now the whole 15 is not going to be taxed at all. People are going to be begging for overtime. It's a good point because Trump says the people who work overtime, some of our hardest workers, but this is going to incentivize overtime. That's great for the economy. People can be working more. Now, there is, alternatively, it could be bad. You know why it could be bad? Because now there are going to be companies that say, why hire another staffer? If maybe it's okay, it's $10 an hour for employee A, but I need someone who can work a few hours at the end of the day. I got to hire another employee $10 an hour. Whoa. I just have one employee work extra overtime and he's going to make more money than if I paid him anyway. So it could have a perverse incentive where companies actually want to hire less because people are willing to work even longer.
Yeah. I think you really want to incentivize more employees is what you want.
And a lot of companies, from what I know, are having trouble hiring. One of the reasons they have to ask for extra overtime right now from current workers is that they do not have people applying to fill openings that they have. So while it could incentivize them to just continue to extend overtime hours for already overtime workers, I think you might see people who are not that interested in going to the job market right now start applying with more vigor. Because, if you are able to say, okay, I'm going to work this many hours a week, but all of my overtime is actually going to be tax-free, you ultimately earn a lot more in the long term over the course of a year. And I think people want that right now.
Also, I'm wondering about people now that are on salaries and if they're going to end up feeling like they're getting screwed. Now they're like,
it would be interesting if people start calculating it's better to work hourly than to earn, whatever the salary wage is, because I know a lot of hourly workers who earn more than other friends who have salary jobs just because the hourly offers more benefits.
And the overtime, like you don't get overtime with salary.
Overtime, flex time, you can sometimes pick up more shifts. Like with your salary, this is what you're earning and that's it.
Yeah, I want to see this proposal somehow incentivize more workers as well. So like the company, although the income is going to be no income tax on overtime, the company maybe has less payroll tax if they have more employees, or like a diminishing return on their payroll taxes the more employees that they bring in and keep under the overtime threshold, because the government might be like, well, we're going to receive more money from your company if you have 2 employees working 40 hours than if you have 1 employee working 80. Mm-hmm. So we're going to incentivize you through tax reduction to hire more employees.
Interesting. It's possible. I mean, this is a challenge with any kind of announcement of a policy like this. The details are not yet clear. And part of that is because, unless it's done through executive action, it's going to have to be done through Congress. And that's always sort of a deal-making process. I feel like Joel can attest to this. If there were a bill that said we don't want to tax overtime anymore, somebody would tack on some kind of irrelevant proposal.
How did it work the last time when you said that they were doing the Social Security? They didn't want to tax Social Security, or what was it they wanted?
Well, as of now, it's just a bill that's been introduced by Thomas Massey. So I'm not sure if it's gone through a committee vote or if it goes straight to the House floor. There's a few different procedures, but I know that as of now, it's just a bill that's been introduced.
Just a single issue bill?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay,
so they could do that with something like this as well?
Yeah, I'm not sure what appropriate committee it would have to go through. But, when you introduce a bill and then put it through committee, that alone puts the members on their heels on how they're going to vote publicly. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes they don't want to do that. Sometimes they do some funny business to make sure that bill doesn't see the light of day, or they make some technicalities.
But could you imagine being whatever committee member and then having to go back to your district and be like, oh, well, I'm on the committee for this thing, and we got sent a bill that meant that overtime hours wouldn't have been taxed, and I voted against it. I didn't want it to reach the rest of the chamber. Like, that doesn't seem like it would bode well. I can't think of a district in America where people would be like, we don't care about that issue at all. I think most Americans would be impacted by this.
Yeah, well, I'd love to see it put up for a vote. We'll have to stay watching them closely.
It's just hard. Like, how would you message on the opposite of that? It would just be like, I could have helped overtime workers, and instead I chose not to.
Yep. Well, that's why they love their poison pills.
Mm-hmm.
The argument would be like it's going to bankrupt this government program, which is going to end up costing seniors their Social Security because we're not taking enough income tax now because we're losing it to this free
Social
money.
Security's going to die anyway, so that one doesn't inspire me, at least. I'll never get probably Joel too will never get Social Security, so it's a dying institution for most Americans. Current seniors, I feel awful for them, right? They shouldn't be double taxed on Social Security, but it's not an institution that's sustainable. So I think if you tell younger voters, oh, well, it could potentially harm Social Security, they'd be like, Well, what's new?
Well, if there's another presidential debate, I'd love to see how Kamala would respond to that.
There's got to be another debate.
We'll see.
Trump. What is he doing? He's got to go for it, and he's got to chill out and just relax and talk about stuff like this. Like, this is the kind of stuff he should have brought up in the debate. No tax on overtime. Like, control the debate with the comment, with the statement.
I'd love to. That's a good point. I'd love to be in a presidential debate so I can just be like, I want to abolish Social Security. Just there you go. I will touch it, and I will take from it, and I will shut it down.
So would you just like scale it out, just phase it out over the next 20 years or something?
Yep. It was a bad idea, and we can clearly see why it was a bad idea. It takes 4 workers to sustain 1 recipient. And so what we're basically saying is we should sacrifice the young for the sake of the old. That is a ridiculous thing for society.
Yeah, on its face, it's like, I'm going to pay in taxes and insurance or whatever into this insurance program, and then when I retire, I'm going to recollect all that as my retirement, but they don't account for the inflation and the reduction of value of the money. Well, the common man doesn't understand. If I put $10,000 in over the course of 40 years, in 40 years, that's probably going to be worth about $2,000.
It was a game where they decided, look, population's expanding, right? So let's just, instead of having to save for retirement or have a family to take care of us, let's just make the expanding generations pay for it. Sooner or later, they must have been assuming at the time, like, look, people are going to keep having kids. So long as they have 3 kids, we got nothing to worry about. And now they're having 1.6 kids. And now they're like, okay, it's going to implode. And all these politicians are like, I will not touch your Social Security because I don't want to lose the senior vote in the most important voting block. It's okay. So older people are going to keep voting to take from the young, while young people struggle to buy homes and get off the ground. And the older voters are going to be like, don't care. I want it. It's mine. And I'm going to keep voting for it. And The Simpsons made the joke in like 1992 when Abe Simpson is making fun of people. I think he's making fun of young people being like good for nothing. So you just want everything for free. Then he runs into the Social Security office and goes, I'm old. Give me it. I deserve it. It's mine. It's like that's how I feel about it.
It's sad to think about elderly people going bankrupt and living on the street, like, because they don't have any income at all.
And this is a perverse system that told people, don't have a family, don't have kids, don't worry, you'll be fine. Government will pay for it. We will, by force, make young people pay the bills of people who didn't have families. That's insane.
I love this idea of seeing you on the presidential debate stage. If we ever saw a potential President Poole, who would be your running mate?
You wouldn't see a president. If I ever had a campaign, it would be intentionally just to say things that are unpopular, but I think people need to hear.
Yeah, but that's that Warren Beatty movie, and he won. What was that movie called? I don't remember.
I get the whole youth vote. They're like, how much money do we get back? I'll be like, well, I guess if we eliminate Social Security, you're going to get back, what, 7 to 12%.
You wouldn't have a VP?
It'd have to be AOC, dude.
Well, he's got to vet a bunch of candidates. You don't know who's trendy at the time.
I don't want to be president at all, so I can't even think of who a VP
Who could
would
skate
be.
the best?
Well, if the whole point is just sending messages that are disruptive, Michael Malice is always the go-to as someone we need in a position of like press authority. You know, so press secretary was great for the Libertarian Party.
It crossed my mind when I was watching that debate that if you were, telling you this before the show, if you had been on stage in Trump's position instead of him, and you were just able to actually explain some of the problems, like when Kamala was like, they were like, Trump, why didn't you vote for her border bill that put all these extra border agents on the border? And he ended up just defending his rallies and being like, people don't leave my rallies. I don't even want, hold on. People don't ever leave my rally. Like, dude,
she got him. She goaded him.
Let's literally talk about why you voted against, or why you pushed to get this vote shot down to get all these border agents in there, because it was going to let more illegal immigrants come across every day or every month or whatever.
Here's my answer. Well, with all due respect, it's not that I control Congress or the Senate. I simply made a few phone calls to members of Congress and asked them what they had thought about it, and I gave them my opinion. And my opinion was that this bill actually codified an increase in unchecked, unvetted border crossings. And I made phone calls to members of Congress and asked them, why are they calling it a border security bill if it's going to bring more people in? I mean, if it's bringing more people in, Kamala's, the Biden administration, we shouldn't be supporting this. That's simple. The American people want a border security bill that's going to restrict and reduce the amount of illegal immigrants, and that's it.
Do you guys remember off the top of your head how many more immigrants it was going to allow in every month?
It was like thousands per day or something. It
was 5,000 illegals every day.
And it was going that was that many more people were just going to be allowed. It
was an amnesty bill. It wasn't a security bill.
No, it was a total amnesty bill.
And the problem is politicians, and I think, look, Trump can do whatever he wants. You guys can insult me and tell me I'm wrong all day. Next, I ain't never going to run for office. In my opinion, however, which I am entitled to, I think the problem with a lot of politicians is they'd say something like, that was an amnesty bill. That would have granted, instead of just saying, well, I wouldn't characterize it as me shutting the bill down. I mean, I'm a private citizen. I was calling a few people and asking them their thoughts. But I think the problem with the bill is that it created a provision. The provision increased the amount of illegal immigrants that they were going to allow in every day. The number should be 0. If you come to this country, you got to come in legally. That means you come to our borders, you come to our embassies, you come to our consulates, you fill out the paperwork. Their border security bill is what they called it, but it allowed up to 5,000 illegal immigrants to cross the border without being vetted at all, and they called that a reduction. So let me just put it this way.
Well, also, Kamala Harris said on the debate stage that he killed the bill because of politics. They didn't want to give him a win, but it wasn't because of politics. It was because of policy.
If we want 0 people crossing our border illegally, and we have 10,000 people crossing, and you come to me and say, let's set the number at 5,000, I'm going to say, no, the number is 0. Mm-hmm. And Kamala's bill was 5,000.
Kamala was basically asking America, like if you were a city, to say, we're okay with, 15% violent crime every year. Like that's the strangest thing. It was saying a certain amount is okay, and I don't think that's what any American would want. That's why the bill is bad. You can call it a border security bill every single day, but the reality is it was okaying a certain amount of crime in America at a time when Americans, one of their top issues is crime.
No, there was a lot wrong with that bill. It's 5,000 illegals every day. Increasing green cards by 50,000 a year, work permits for adult children of H-1B holders, immediate work permits to every illegal alien released from custody. Like, that's just crazy. That is a total amnesty bill.
It was work
permits. That is not border security.
Illegal immigrants that were being released, they were going to give them work permits.
And then they what's the right word for this? They dissolve the asylum claims. So there's no enforcement action against these people now, which is effective amnesty. They say, come here. Here's a work permit. You have a court date in 1 month. A week goes by and they say, your court date's been dismissed. Have a nice day. Mm-hmm. Which basically means they're here with a work permit and they can't be deported. They're basically giving them amnesty.
No, it's not border security. It's
literally the opposite.
Literally an authorized invasion of the country.
Well, let's talk about the latest forecasts. So the big news right now is Kamala Harris wins. She won the debate. But you got to ask yourself what it means to win the debate. So, of course, you've got the Kamala Cope. That's what I call it. The anti-Trumpers who are posting laughing emojis being like, everybody knows Kamala won. Dude, just because your friends at the New York Times said she won doesn't mean it's true. The first thing I would say is on the surface, everyone's going to claim their person won. I think it's fair to say that Kamala was better prepared than people thought. I think it's fair to say that she goaded Trump and actually got him off kilter on many points. But I'm not sure that in the end, Kamala actually is the winner in terms of tangibles. So you ask yourself what it means to win a debate. Ian, do you think Kamala won the debate?
No.
You don't think she won the debate?
No, I don't think either of them won that debate. They both look like idiots in my mind. Not idiots. They both look like bitter people with no plan.
So are you going to vote for either of them?
No, that was disgusting to watch.
So here's pineapple. What is it? You're wearing pineapples?
Yeah, Richie Jackson gave this to me.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
Thanks.
He's wearing, I don't know what that is. Some kind of...
Trump won't tax your pineapples.
I hope not.
Right.
I think it's a lamp.
So the goal is
something you
how
see
you
in a
convince
vision,
Ian Crossland to vote for Donald Trump. And this is the point. I think that what Ian is saying has actually been reflected by many of the surveys and the polls that were done. New York Times, all the people saying undecided. I think they had a couple people said Harris, but then most of the panel just said, I don't know that anybody won. And I'm going to tell you this. That means Trump won. And I know all the liberals and leftists are going to be like, cope and seethe. Mm-hmm. Dude, you can tell me whatever you want. If you ignore the facts, it'll be your detriment in 54 days. The reason Trump won, if that's the case, is Trump didn't have to win. So in the debate, Kamala goads Trump. Trump makes mistakes. We get out of this with people saying, I don't know who won. That was ridiculous. Well, Trump didn't need anything. Kamala was already failing, calling herself the underdog. Kamala needed the opportunity to prove that she had something to change, and she did not. Mm-hmm. Trump could have gone up there and done the chicken dance for an hour, for all anyone cares. As long as Kamala articulated her plan and helped people understand what she would do that was different, she would have won. She did not. She answered her questions as insults to Donald Trump, and Trump responded to the insults. And all anyone saw that didn't know anything about politics was two people yelling at each other.
I think the problem is the media is looking at this like sports, right? They think if Kamala gets Donald Trump flustered, she gets a point. So if she does it twice, she gets 2 points. If he doesn't do it to her, then, he doesn't get any points. But both candidates went in with different objectives. And I think her campaign really miscalculated by trying to make Trump look bad. That's why they wanted the mics, right? They said, no, the American people deserve to hear what he's saying, however deranged it is. They wanted him to be this caricature that they have created of him. But Donald Trump is a known quality in American politics. I mean, he launched his campaign for presidency, the first one 8 years ago. He's been on the scene for over a decade. He's been a public figure for way longer than that. And so if he looks brash, if he looks like he's getting angry, it doesn't make a difference. She had to prove that she was a personality, and B, someone with policies who understood them, and she did neither.
I'll tell you real quick. I got to read this point just before, so put a tag on that. This is from the Liberal Patriot, who writes, there are clearly reasons for concern besides the data noted above. And so I'm jumping down, mind you. He says, polling right after the debate found that Harris did little to improve voter confidence in her ability to handle the all-important issue of the economy. A CNN flash poll among debate watchers found that before the debate, voters trusted Trump over Harris on the economy by 16 points. And after the debate, they favored Trump by 20 points. Furthermore, if you look at the crosstabs, working class voters before the debate favored Trump over Harris to handle the economy by 29 points, an advantage for Trump, which increased slightly to 32 points after the debate. Not exactly what the Harris campaign had in mind. So if you want to talk about who won, you can sit here and say Trump got mad and got flustered and Kamala sounded better. Dance all the way to November for all I care. Because when it comes to the economy, stupid, Trump won.
I got if Harris acted like she acted I'm not even going to call it a debate because they weren't debating anything. I didn't even hear them debate any ideas. If she acted like that in the room with Xi Jinping, she'd be laughed out of that room and just totally ignored in the future.
Well, how about this? She goes to Ukraine to talk with Zelensky. 3 days later, Russia invades.
Well, and I like what you're saying. It wasn't really a debate. It was sort of a parallel interview of both of them. I mean, occasionally they would be asked to comment on the other one's response. They would, they would want to, but the moderators would be like, Tim, here's one question on this issue. Now, Joel, here's a different issue that we're going to pivot to. Daniel Turner talked about this last night. We used to have multiple debates, and they were thematic: economy, national security, whatever the next one was. And this time it was sort of like, we don't know if we'll see Kamala Harris again, so we might as well try and ask them a bunch of stuff.
You're both wrong. It was clearly a debate. It was the Trump Muir debate. Muir got some good jabs in against Trump, but I think Trump countered pretty well, and also Kamala.
Trump was like,
I thought that was one of your best tweets.
They are invading our country over. He said it like 7 times. I'm like, oh my God, enough already. I get it. Yeah, they are. One or twice, and that's it. Sorry.
Kamala needed to make the case for herself on the debate stage, and even more important, she needed to separate herself from Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden was already on the path to being destroyed, 50-state loss against Donald Trump. And I think the New York Times put out a piece where they said that undecided voters had said that Kamala wasn't able to separate herself from Biden on issues like the economy and the military. She said, she straight up said that she was proud of the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. She's proud of this record inflation. And so if she wasn't able to differentiate herself from Joe Biden, I think that's the biggest loss for her. Because people lived under a Trump presidency. They know what to expect with Donald Trump in the White House. And we kind of know what to expect with Kamala Harris in the White House as well. And so if you're just comparing those two, I think Trump has the upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's important to note Harris is not Biden. And for Trump to even intimate that she is ridiculous. Your vice president has no authority over what you do as the president. They're backup.
Biden says that she was the last one in the room after all the major decisions.
But he's still making every decision. She doesn't make
spent
any of those decisions.
3 years insisting that it was the Biden-Harris administration. This is one of the, this was not true of the Obama-Biden administration. They really just called it the Obama administration. Also true of the Trump-Pence administration. It was really just the Trump administration. But Biden's White House has gone out of their way time and time again to make sure her name is included on everything. And I think that is partially on her camp's insistence, but also because Biden used her as this token hire to say, I am promoting, a diverse woman who's going to rise to the ranks and do whatever. But that ultimately means that she asked to have responsibility for his legacy. And on stage, she's saying, I'm not Joe Biden. But then she will try and take credit by saying, well, we are really proud of what we were able to do this, that, and the other. She is a we when convenient. She's tied to Biden when she thinks she can win American voters. But when they don't like Biden, she's not a part of that at all. That's disingenuous to me.
Same thing on the southern border. They named her the border czar immediately. And now that we've seen the border just totally destroyed under their administration, now all of a sudden she had no involvement in the mainstream media saying she had no involvement.
I think this is the clip. I could be totally wrong, but I'm going to play it anyway, so, whatever.
Good evening. I'm William Worm. Before we begin, we have just received word that Squiggly Miggly will not be attending tonight's debate due to the fact he blew his head off with a 3D printed shotgun. We want to remind the audience to please not talk out loud, to not applaud. You're just wasting time. Now, our first question tonight goes to Mr. Frog.
Mr. Frog, why are you so evil? You have 1 second to respond.
Hello,
Time's up, plus you're wrong. The next question is for our beloved and highly intelligent president. Why are you so amazing? You have unlimited time to respond.
So everybody was sharing this clip being like, this is what the debate is.
Yeah, it did feel like that at times. I felt like the fact checks on Trump, many of which were incorrect, were so obviously... Like, it was so obviously against Trump and to Kamala's benefit. They did ask her the occasional tough questions, which a lot of times she either avoided answering or stumbled through. But it is striking when you say the CNN moderators were better, you know, like, I mean, partially because everyone just watched Joe Biden self-destruct, but they interrupted less than the ABC moderators.
The most shocking moment of the debate was when Trump was asked if he still thought he lost 2020 because he said, I lost by a whisker. And he was like, no, I was being sarcastic. And Muir goes, well, I didn't take it that way or something like this. And it's like that
Nobody asked you.
Well, but that was the moment where the facade was completely gone.
Yep.
We're fact checking. Not anymore. You're not. Now you're giving your opinion as a random guy that no one asked.
Yeah, they fact-checked him saying that babies could be terminated after birth. They're like, no, they can't. And he was like, okay. They fact-checked that people weren't eating cats and dogs. And that was that. But they didn't fact check Kamala Harris when she kept saying that he was tied to 2025, Project 2025, which he's not.
Or the Very Fine People hoax.
They didn't fact check that.
Oh, no,
hoax.
she told lie after lie. The fake news media, they think that the American people are stupid when they try to do these fact checks against President Trump. But Kamala told lie after lie. She falsely said that not one member of the United States military is in an active duty combat zone. Not true. Kamala Harris also said that she did not support a government takeover of healthcare. She does. She said she denied support for fracking when it was brought up in the debate. She does, as well as mandatory gun confiscation. She said that's not true when President Trump highlighted her support for defunding the police. I mean, the list goes on, and they of course, they're not going to bring any of this up.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the debate.
But that's why she wants another one now. I mean, it's so fascinating that before her team would not commit. They acted like Trump asking for multiple debates was kind of rude and crazy. And now they're like, we want another debate, and he's being unreasonable. I mean, it's just such a like.
Well, Trump said, let's debate on Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
He should definitely debate again.
Why won't she do it?
He should debate her again. And he should talk policy. He should just ignore the banter. I don't know if he can do that. That's my concern. That's why, as an independent voter and like an undetermined, like watching him just get defensive about his people don't leave my rallies. No one has ever left the Trump rally ever.
It's interesting
Like,
because
what the?
They're still
talking
there.
about? Of course they leave from time to time.
The thing is, it's interesting because that obviously made a huge impression on you, but like, I remember that. I also remember him talking about a lot of his issues. I remember getting more policy from him. He talked about the border. He talked about, gun control. He talked about being pro-fracking. He talked about business stuff. She would give these platitudes like, well, I'm for an opportunity economy. And then she would never really explain it. And the other part is that she spent a lot of time talking about Trump. I mean, really, most of this, like if you remember, Trump was like, I put these tariffs in. They were good. It's going to help us on the world stage. It's good for our economy, whatever. You guys left them in place even though you attack me over them. That was one of the only times the moderators were then like, yeah, do you want to explain why they're still there? She completely ignored that, wouldn't talk about it at all. I mean, to me, Trump has an established legacy. He's already been president. His campaign has had policies out for a long time. She just released her policies. This is her first major media moment to explain them, and she just didn't. That's crazy to me.
So let me jump to this right here. We have the Poly Market numbers. Kamala Harris has a 75% chance to win the election, according to Poly Market, and it looks like they've got around $27 or $28 million on the line right here. Actually, I don't know. What is this? $200 million bet on popular vote winner? Is that what that means? I don't know. Yeah, looks like 200 million is bet on this. Oh, because of the no side. Well, that seems, I don't know how this stuff works. But I'll tell you this. If you believe Poly Market, you can make that wager. If you believe Nate Silver, there's free money waiting for you. I am not telling you to make bets. I am not giving you advice. I'm just saying this is what we would refer to. If Nate Silver is correct as an individual expert using a forecasting model, and he says Trump today has a 60% chance to win, you're EV positive. 60% chance to win, 75% four times your money.
All he's got to do to win is look like a good guy, Trump. He's got to look like a good guy that doesn't get upset. If he gets freaked out and angry, he's going to lose.
I disagree. He can get angry if it's for the right reason.
Maybe you're right. Get thee behind me, Satan. If you use anger to propel you forward, yeah. But if you're getting taunted by the person across from you, no.
That's right. But if his anger is, and he had this at the debate, he did. I don't know if I think he had a good amount. If his anger was, let's say she says Trump's rallies, people are leaving early, and then Trump got angry right away and went, "Excuse me, how dare you bring up something so inconsequential when the American people are suffering right now? The cost of gas is through the roof, eggs are through the roof, milk is through the roof, and you're talking about rallies, insults. This is insulting."
Yeah, and then immediately offer the solutions to the people suffering.
That anger lights people up.
I also think he could have gotten angry about the fact that she's being flippant about his rallies when a Trump supporter died at one of his rallies in Pennsylvania. I mean, she is pretending like that didn't happen, which is amazing. And frankly, the ABC moderators let her. He was the only one to reference the assassination attempt, which I think is a major issue. I mean, she is protected by the Secret Service. Doesn't she care that they failed? Apparently not, and that should be telling.
Do you think that on the economy, Trump is better than Kamala, Ian?
Yeah, I don't really see any plan that she has at all. He at least is talking about at the debate, he didn't really get specific. I want specifics. But I've heard him talk to Elon Musk about bringing him in to fix a lot of bureaucracy, which on that Elon Musk call, which was pretty promising. I know he did put the tariffs on. He really stuck it to a lot of foreign countries he's talked a lot about NATO paying their fair share, things like that.
Are those good things?
I mean, they'll bring money in the short term. So they look like they're at least stemming the bleeding of our economy. But if you really want to fix the economy, you need a new fuel system. I haven't heard him mention hydrogen fuel once.
That's it. You're never going to get Ian to vote for you unless you bring up.
No, if you're going to talk about doing the thing that we did the last 150 years and it's going to work, you're wrong. We need something new.
The American people aren't listening for numbers and statistics in a debate. Trump dominates on the economy issue. You go to the grocery store, you go to the gas pump, and you see that everything is expensive, and this is the worst time to be making good money in America. And they had great times under President Trump, and that's all people need to hear, that's all people need to remember.
Maybe if it's an emotional thing, but like when he's just like everything is horrible, like he won the coin toss, so I'm going to take the last word. His last word was everything sucks and everything's bad. And she's horrible.
Amen.
Like, really? That's the energy you want to leave everybody with? Give me a hopeful vision of the future, bro.
Incorrect.
That's why you take the last word.
His closing message, which he repeated 3 times.
Garbage.
I'm saying that he repeated it 3 times because he could have clearly articulated it better, was why isn't she doing it now? His closing statement was not about what you're saying. He said, she offers you this, she offers you that, it all sounds nice, but she believes in things that the American people do not.
Yeah, his closing statement was about her. It should have been about him and his vision.
No,
not about complaining.
Government accountability. She's currently in the executive branch, and she's saying everything is fine when American people know it's not.
Even
left-wing analysts afterwards were saying that was
of the Senate.
stronger.
Are you nuts?
That's it. Sorry, Hannah Claire.
All the bills that are going through, she's the one stamping.
2 of them, yeah.
She's in two parts of the government.
She's stamping them.
It was more than 2, bro.
You realize that you're saying she's part of the executive and the legislative branch, and she still is telling Americans that we're wrong.
The vote,
that's
somebody.
She did take a tie-breaking vote, the Inflation Reduction Act, that screwed our country, and she was the tiebreaker on it.
I'm sorry to interrupt what you were saying.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm just saying that, like, even left-wing analysts in mainstream media afterwards were saying, obviously they're praising her everything that they can, but I watched 3 different networks talk about this, and every single one was like, but when we got to closing arguments, and he said, why she's already there, why hasn't she done anything about it? It's difficult to refute that point. I think a lot of Americans, and of course, everyone has different perspective. I'm not trying to tell you that, obviously I respect your opinion, but I think that a lot of Americans have that question when it comes to Kamala Harris. You can't be both the vice president and also say, well, I have nothing to do with this administration, and so therefore I'm going to be a fresh face.
Fact check.
Yeah.
33 tie-breaking votes as of September of 2024.
You take the last statement in a debate. It's not to leave a poison pill for everyone about your enemy. It's about to give people hope about you. That's the reason you speak last, is to get them remembering you when they walk out, remembering the things you said when they walk out, not to be thinking about her. He is big boy politics, D. Come on.
I mean, well, I'll concede a point to Ian. I definitely would have liked to have hear about the future in his closing remarks, but I think everything that he said, he completely nailed it on the head. And I think that his closing statement won him the debate.
No, I think.
Oh, I totally disagree.
Well,
it made me disgusted.
but Ian, you got his closing statement wrong. You mischaracterized
Pull it up. We should watch it. It's disgusting. It's pointless. He just argues and
He just
complains.
likes
I'm getting like an
Contrarian in the room.
I'm getting like an 80% quote. He said, "You believe in things the American people do not. Things like stopping fracking." And, she talks about this and that thing and this thing, and it sounds good, but why haven't you done it now? That was the message that he was sending. Now, what he needed to add to it, and I would agree with this, is he should have said, he could have been more articulate. He could have said, Kamala Harris keeps promising all of these beautiful things. She says going to do this for you, that for you. The question is, why hasn't she already done it? If she can, she could have, she won't. Here's what I'll do. I will unleash American energy. I will produce so much energy in this country, your gasoline costs will go down. Your heat will go down. Your bills, they will go down. Your phone bill, your health insurance will all follow suit. Your groceries will go down. Your wages will go up. And we start with energy. Should have said that.
Yeah, he should have for sure ended the debate with a positive message about what he's going to do. It was zero of that, unfortunately.
But asking for Trump to give a perfect performance does not mean that he didn't perform well.
I mean, I would have taken a 40% ending. His closing statement was a 0. It was a bitch
I totally
fest.
disagree.
I don't think you know what his
disagree
closing
so
statement
strongly.
was.
He didn't make any statements. He complained about the girl. That was a
No, he
terrible
talked about it.
move.
He said, under me, we'll do all kinds of stuff. But what has she been doing? I mean, I think this is the thing. Like, if the objective of the debate for Trump was to stay cool, talk about the policy, like maybe he could have done better. He did talk about some stuff. He landed some funny blows on Kamala. Kamala had a bigger burden. She needed to define who she was. She needed to show that she understood policy and she had a plan for the country. She did not do that. And that's why I like the closing statement. I like that he was like, she's already in the White House and she's not doing anything. If she has all of these promises, which she has failed to tell us right now, why hasn't she carried them out? I think that is something voters are really considering when they look at Kamala Harris. They already know Trump. And he's promised optimism. He's promised hope for years and years and years. And in this case, I think it makes sense to hold her to the
Why didn't he
fire.
drain the swamp? You want to talk about people not doing what they say they're going to do.
I mean, that's why he said I needed more time.
There's actually an answer to why he didn't drain the swamp. I just don't think you want to accept it.
Well, the answer is he didn't know how.
That's half the answer. It is. He brought on people that he didn't realize were bad and made a
He
mistake.
totally failed in that regard.
So hold on. Would you consider failure experience?
Yeah, sure. Kamala Harris has a lot more experience from failing. That's a good point.
I also don't think she's going to drain the swamp, right?
She never said she was going to.
That's the thing, though. Like, if you want someone who said, I'm going to try and do these things versus the person who's like, I think everything in Washington is perfect the way it is, I would still want the guy who
My point is on draining the swamp, Donald Trump brought in bad people and regretted it later and fired a bunch of them. And so many people would jokingly refer to this as he drained a lot of the swamp, but the swamp monsters were still there. The water came down, we saw the swamp monsters, and he didn't get rid of them. Hopefully, now that he's learned from this, the next time he will. But voting for Kamala Harris is a guarantee that never happens.
Well, I do agree with that, actually. She's very tied in with the bureaucratic empire.
One of them.
And I'm letting you guys know, I really want some positive change in this country, and I would really love to see someone empower our industrial base. But I'm just calling this objectively as I saw it.
What about RFK Jr.?
I love the guy.
Would you support RFK Jr.?
I do support RFK Jr.
You do? He said to vote for Trump.
I know.
And he said a Trump victory is an RFK victory. He says you vote for Trump and we're going to make America healthy again. So I got to tell you, bro, I understand you have a social argument, concerns about the divisive nature of where this country is, but I feel like mathematically you can call Trump every name in the book, but RFK Jr. has asked for your help.
I know.
Got to do it.
Joel, what do you think of RFK's endorsement of Trump? I know it was a couple weeks ago.
I think it's great. Got to unify.
Yeah.
I think it I was kind of worried about RFK remaining on the ballot to split up the vote in some way. But I mean, I think his movement and our movement align very much. And I'm glad to see we're all on the same team. I think Ian really didn't like the presidential debate because I didn't bring up graphene enough.
They didn't bring it up at all.
I didn't bring up graphene at all.
If Donald
Oh,
Trump,
Joel's calling you out, Ian.
if the whole
Listened intently as well.
No, listen. If the debate went exactly identically in every way, but right at the end, as he's saying, why hasn't she done it? Why hasn't she done it? And why won't you talk about graphene? Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Ian would be like, it was the greatest
Donald
debate
Trump
ever.
won the debate.
Yeah.
It would have been great if he talked about industry. I mean, obviously that's a bit silly if he just said the word graphene, but I mean, I would have lit up if he had, just to make that noise known by the populace.
I propose this to you, Sir Crossland. you should continue to criticize Donald Trump in the exact way that you are and then vote for him because RFK Jr. has made the public statement and has asked for your help. And outside of the statement, I genuinely believe RFK Jr. is the guy. He is like, when we talk about seed oils, when we talk about environmental toxins, when we talk about radiation, all this garbage, him being a part of the Trump team is one of the most important things of our generation.
Yeah, there's other people too that are very behind.
Tulsi Gabbard,
Robert Malone, the
absolutely.
doctor, Brett Weinstein, like these brilliant people that I highly respect are in support.
And they're doing that rally on the 29th.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, the Save the Republic rally. So I'm just saying, if you don't like Trump, that's totally fine. And I understand a lot of people don't like the guy, but vote for those that are around him. And I got to say, like RFK Jr. for the most, because he's a liberal guy, and he's called out the censorship, the war machine, the pharmaceutical industrial complex, and when he talks about the environmental diseases and chronic illness, he's not pointing to a guy that we're mad at. He's talking to a state of emergence in this country where we became negligent and allowed phthalates, PCBs, plastic, all this garbage in our surroundings and our food that's poisoned people. And he wants to solve that problem. And it's one of the only times we've actually gotten a real chance at having someone come in to deal with this. Then you got to throw in Elon Musk's Department of Government, what is it?
Doge.
Yeah,
Department
Doge.
of
Government efficiency.
Efficiency, that's right, Doge. It's like, be mad at Trump, get mad that he was too flustered or he got easily goaded, but the people around him is a gift.
Yeah, this is what we're at. We're altering the world order into a new world order of some sort. We're creating a new world order, and we got to talk. I could feel like we could do an entire episode on how we can craft a better world order than what we've got that's better than BRICS. Because if we don't, BRICS is going to take over.
I agree. I think Trump's coalition right now is one of the most epic things you could have ever have asked for. You've got...
Talk about coalitions. If Joe Biden could put on a MAGA hat, I think Ian can.
Oh, dude.
What's he thinking?
I'll get you that MAGA
loves
hat.
Trump
He's campaigning for Trump.
He kept the hat.
He did keep it.
Yeah, the
Biden-
I think
reporting
he
is...
can't stand his VP
he
or
hates
something.
her.
So check it out. There's speculation that... So he releases a letter on Twitter that he's dropping out. Let's dedicate some time to this. Okay. So Joe Biden wears a Trump hat, keeps the Trump hat, and and the White House says it's because he's trying to show unity or build unity. But there's some speculation, and I think it's wishful thinking, but speculation. So when Joe Biden drops out of the race initially, it was through a Twitter letter. And the conspiracy theory was Biden did not release that letter. He had been saying the whole time up to that point, I will not drop out no matter what. And then all of a sudden, without a video or a public statement, a letter appears. The conspiracy theory was that staffers uploaded that to his account without his permission or knowledge to force him, because now you can't go back. What are you going to do? Come out and claim that Kamala or the Obamas secretly did this? Nope. You're out. It was a coup. And he went on to say later that he was upset about it. He didn't want to drop out. He thought he could win. There's speculation now that he put the Trump hat on because he's out. He knows he's out. He has no reason to benefit any of these people. He's been on the beach now for how long? People keep posting these photos of him on vacation, and they're like, this guy's checked out. Mm-hmm. He's no longer president. He is, but he's just basically in his mind saying, you pushed me out, you shut me down, I just don't care anymore.
Right. He must feel a certain level of betrayal from the Democrats and these Democrats that he's considered his friends and allies for years. I mean, I was listening to a New York Times analyst talk about this afterwards, and she said that there was it was a New York Times interview with a senior executive for the DNC, and she said that she saw Biden's letter go out on July 21st, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, it's happening!" And then there was like a 30-minute delay before he released a statement endorsing Kamala. And she said during that time, she was actually kind of nervous because it was like, he hasn't endorsed Kamala. This is throwing us into chaos. And, I could understand where if the drafted letter was written by someone who didn't have authority and they kind of forced his hand by releasing it, why there would be a delay and then a separate endorsement of Kamala. Why? Because it could have all been one statement.
I mean, well, there is a known history of the Bidens hating Kamala Harris going back to the 2020 elections when Kamala first went for the jugular at Joe Biden on the debate stage. pretty much calling him a racist.
She did.
And I think I remember reading after that how Jill Biden just totally was on the warpath against Kamala Harris. And these are the top politicians in the country. There is no optic that will go unnoticed or unthought about. So Joe Biden putting on a MAGA hat is a significant stab to Kamala Harris.
Is it?
It really is. Charlemagne the God called him the donkey of the day for doing it. Democrats were pissed off about it. They scrambled to try and claim that was no big deal. It's no big deal. He says unity. No, I think that was
It was a screw you.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't call it an endorsement. I think it was I'm done. I'm done with this. Could you imagine some people were tweeting, and I know it's wishful thinking, the October surprise is actually Biden coming out saying vote Trump?
That would be hilarious. Or if he withdraws his endorsement from Kamala.
Then they might say that
like,
he has
what if
dementia.
he's like, I've
Like,
been thinking.
Biden's too old.
Wouldn't that be funny though if they're like, actually he's senile, we must remove him right now?
Yeah.
I mean,
25th Amendment right
but
now.
what if he just like says, actually, I've been thinking about it. This process wasn't right. She didn't win the primary. I can't, in good faith, continue to endorse Kamala Harris, who otherwise is a lovely lady, I'm sure. What if he just sort of turns tides and starts just not being pro-Trump, but being subtly anti-Kamala?
It'd be funny if he comes out and he just says, if you take a look at my political positions from the 90s, some 30 some odd years ago into the 80s. I mean, we're going almost 40 years ago. I kind of agree with Donald Trump on most of these things. The only reason Joe Biden's politics now are what he's being told to say. All this progressive stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if you go look at Joe Biden when he was half this age or whatever, he should be endorsing Trump.
He's hardcore. He was hardcore in the 90s. Like, he was real anti-drugs. I mean, he signed that drug law, the kind of dumb drug law, the 92, I think it was, or something, 94. Is it common, Joel, for staffers to control candidates' Twitter accounts?
Tell us, Mr. Comms guy.
I mean, it depends on the dynamic of your, just how you have your communications strategy set up. I know when I was on the Gates team, I primarily managed his official @RepMattGates account. That was where we put all of our, congressional news out. The @MattGates account that he controls, he totally controls that. I don't have any passwords or anything. So everything you see from that account is him. Same goes with Lauren Boebert. I primarily am controlling the @RepBoebert account, which is where we push out that news, and she controls her own account. It could be different for other people.
I think it should be federally mandated that it says on the account if it's controlled by staffers, firstly, so that you can't run a coup against the candidate.
Some of them do say that in the bio. Some of them will say like this is.
Some of them do have a. I forget who has this. I think Chip Roy has like a Chip Roy press office title. I think it'd be helpful to know that some staff are putting out. But ultimately, when if a congressman is signing off on a tweet, that's their voice too.
Yeah, but Ian's right. It should be a law that any material representation must be if the account is run by multiple people, then you should not be able to, as a politician, say that it's you when it's someone else.
Especially like what we're looking with Biden, like someone, if that truly is the administrative state was in there, and I'm just saying his staffers might have been contacted by like deep state, been like, you're going to be putting this stuff out now, and Biden's no longer with us anymore. And they're like, okay, we're going to do what we're told because that's why we're here. We're learning and we're with you. Who knows? But I don't want someone to run a social media coup on my candidate, basically. So I need to know that someone else has access to that account. That's the point. And I think that's what they did, is they ran a social media coup on Biden. I don't know. I can't prove it because I can't tell if he controlled that account or someone else did. But the stuff that was coming out of that did not sound like the words coming out of his mouth.
Oh, I don't think he runs his official his accounts at all. I mean,
Trump?
I don't think he runs.
So
Biden.
Biden.
Trump 100% runs his
Right.
accounts. I think it would be even difficult to replicate like his random capitalization. Like he is making it so that he is a unique voice only on his platform. But that was not the case with Biden at all. I think there was even a case where Karine Jean-Pierre clearly tweeted like something she meant to be from her account that was actually delivered from the Biden account. The day and age of social media is fascinating, and it is also interesting to sort of contrast the presidency with especially Congress, because there are so many young people coming up who are aware of how influential social media can be. I mean, this is one of AOC's big wins, that she established a voice on social media that people really felt resonated with who she was. I think other staffers are able to do this, but not all of them have the same tenacity for it.
It would be great if there were visible short-term consequences to being stupid and being wrong. So, Karine Jean-Pierre says insane things every day, and I don't even know why anyone bothers to pay attention. And then you get poor Ducey over there asking real questions, and then she just gives a nonsense answer, and all the other corporate press just clap. And I'm like, in governance, the problem is someone will propose a policy, and we don't know what the ramifications are going to be. Just sounds right. If there was a way to actually run a simulation before doing it, that would be great. And then I started thinking, like, what if that's the real purpose of the simulation that we're in? It's one of the most inconsequential things ever. It's a session of Congress, and they're like, I've got a bill proposing a tax on imported cheeses from Europe. Well, we need to see what it's going to do before we vote yes on it. So the entire universal span of our existence right now is actually just a 3-minute AI button press in Congress where they're trying to see what happens with this one particular tariff.
I've actually thought that when your body dies, that you get to time speeds up and you get to see the rest of reality play out as if it was programmed by your behavior up to that point. So like, depending on what you do in your life, you're going to see the result of it play out really quickly afterwards. And you'll be like, oh, well, I didn't like how all that turned out. I'm going to try that again, kind of thing.
I don't know what that has to do with
if you retry it or
policy
not
or anything, but my statement also
sort of like you are the supercomputer witnessing your own.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust the AI that much right
But we should have
I'm just
AI.
saying, like,
Altman's AI or Elon's AI?
I'm just saying the
Which
issue
one's
with
making the
Congress
decision?
is they say, hey, we want to ban this thing, and they don't actually know what that's going to do. So perverse incentives is the best example of these mistakes that government often makes. Shout out to Chris Rufo, who offered $5,000 for evidence of people eating cats in Springfield, Ohio, to which I pointed out, all that's going to happen is some Haitian dude's going to be like, dude, quick, get a cat. We're going to get $5,000. Like, they don't care about the news.
You're a good point. You make a good point about AI, and a useful function for AI would be to run simulations on outcomes of policy, like super computations and stuff like that on quantum computers. That'd be great to be able to watch like 7,000 potential outcomes of one vote. Oh,
Or if members of Congress could just read the bill,
What a crazy concept.
or not be paid by taking lobbyist money to
Or they weren't
make decisions on their behalf.
Or they weren't allowed to sneak unrelated additions into any
Yeah,
bill.
let the bills be single subject bills and pertain to the actual germanity of what they're talking
Do
about.
you guys ever with the Gates office? I don't want you can't speak for Matt obviously, but did you guys ever like regret pushing McCarthy out?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, he was a liar. There was nothing that could be trusted out of his mouth because he was owned by the special interests and the lobbyists. And he had repeatedly made these promises that were broken, and we weren't going to tolerate it if we had something to do about it.
Was it where his hands tied and he just had he's like a cog in a machine and it's like you're in that position now, you're going to do what you're told kind of thing?
McCarthy?
Yeah. And the new guy. What's the new guy? Mike Johnson?
Well, I think if you're in government, you have a responsibility to do what you said you were going to do when you got elected. And I don't remember him going up on a campaign stage and said, I'm going to do the bidding of the lobbyists from now until forever.
Wouldn't it be funny if he had, though? He was just like, I'm here for the lobbyists. What was the fallout afterwards? I mean, were you guys, were the congressmen who really pushed against the speaker ostracized in any way? Did you see that the movement had some support? Were there?
Oh, I mean, they were calling for Gates to be kicked out of the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. Some even throwing.
But that's obviously died away. I mean, like today as it stands.
But like immediately after we kicked him out, I mean, lots of people were calling for him to even be expelled.
Matt Gates?
But he wasn't. So what were the consequences today? Like, there is a new speaker now. Do they do this? Is this something that comes up a lot? Are people unwilling to work with certain congressmen because of this tie to trying to oust the last speaker?
No, I think it's kind of exposed this Wizard of Oz mentality that these past speakers have been going through. Like Paul Ryan had no heart. Then you got Kevin McCarthy, who has no brain. And now we have Mike Johnson, who has no courage. And it is frustrating when you don't have the votes to get a genuine person who will be a change agent in those positions, to just have, someone who kind of turns out to just be another disappointment. But, at the end of the day, we were facing an option between keeping this, lobbyist puppet in office and not fighting our battles, or we could try something new. And we decided to try something new because we told our constituents that we were going to be fighting for the promises that we had told them that we got from the January fight, which were single subject spending bills and a lot more. and they didn't live up to that, and they thought that they could, push us around and, keep pushing the deadline keep moving the goalposts for things that needed to be done up until, the end of the year when they should have been working on it all year. And, we weren't going to have it. So
You mentioned before the show about the continuing resolution bill that had there was something attached about that Massey was talking about. What was that?
There's a bill called the SAVE Act that was attached to the CR, or was supposed to be attached to the CR, which actually was passed a few months ago. I think over 221 members of Congress voted in favor of it, including I think 5 Democrats. Might be wrong on that, but there were definitely Democrats who joined in on the bill. And that was kind of like the shiny object for people to vote for the CR. And the SAVE Act's good, but it wasn't going to be implemented in time for November. And, like President Trump said on True Social, if there weren't absolute assurances that we were going to get election security, you should vote no on it. And it looked like eventually both sides said that they weren't going to vote for it.
Let's jump to this next story. Ladies and gentlemen, it was an effort to insult Donald Trump. Instead, it turned into a based meme. You guys ready for this one?
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the dogs. And this is what's happening. Dogs.
All right, I think we made our point with this.
Oh, that's so
Brilliant work.
Redheaded Libertarian says the guy who originally mixed is having a meltdown because it's not pro-Trump and he's literally a socialist. Well, it's our song now, comrade. And so this guy, he changed his name to Benny Johnson Can Eat Ish, and he says, I updated my display name. It's stuck like this now, and it won't let me change it back. WTF. If you're reading this, F Trump, I'm literally a socialist. This is not a pro-Trump song. And he locked his account.
Megaphonics music. I gotta say, dude, you are super talented. Regardless of all of that, you're great.
Embrace it. They don't get it. They don't understand them. Like, it's funny. Yeah, it's okay. I don't
good beat.
I don't understand why they think this is supposed to be like, haha, look, we're making fun of Trump. They fundamentally do not understand Trump or his supporters.
I know. I was thinking this. I was trying to find out a good way to put it in writing. I figured I'd just say it on the show. If you make fun of me, but you do it in a really great way, I'm going to love you. If you do it in a really terrible way, you're forgotten. That's it. This guy did it in a great way, and everyone loves him for it. That's all.
Yeah, but it's Trump supporters who like it.
Yeah.
He doesn't like Trump
because they see reality, and not all Trump supporters see reality. But a lot of the reason people are supporting Trump is because he was red pilling the world in real time in like 2016 and 17, talking about the administrative state and stuff.
What these midwits don't understand is that your run-of-the-mill average person collects information peripherally. This means that with a song like this going viral, this post on Reddit Libertarian's X account has nearly 1 million views. No one's going to run a fact check on this. There's going to be some random guy hanging out with his buddies, and someone's going to play it, and he's going to hear in the background while he's watching a football game, they're eating the dogs. Whoa, they're eating the dogs. And then he's going to be like, later on, he's going to be like, I heard that they were eating dogs. That's it. And people are going to be like, yeah, I heard the same thing.
What's this Trump eating the dogs? And then people will look into it.
Well, that's also
they won't. They won't look into it.
That's also a win of Trump's from the debate. Like he was driving the narrative and continues to drive the narrative after the debate because, some of the commentary world, the news pundits are talking about, the minor details of who won the debate. Meanwhile, regular folks that I talk to, they're talking about psycho migrants eating dogs in Springfield. They're talking about illegal Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment complexes in parts of Aurora, Colorado. So,
It definitely drove more attention to Springfield, Ohio. I think the news media was just about ready to smother that one. And now, at least I know a number of reporters who have been like, I'm headed there immediately, which for better or worse in the town. But, it makes it so this is a conversation of like, that's a crazy thing for Trump to say, but why would he say it? And I think the impact of crime by illegal immigrants in this country is actually undeniable and a concern for a lot of Americans.
This doesn't even make Hassan look bad. Right. So someone
most watchable Hassan clip.
Right. Awesome. Somebody who doesn't know politics just sees a dude cheering.
Yeah.
Like I could send this clip to someone and say, look how excited Hassan was that Trump brought up this serious problem in Springfield, Ohio. And he's going, yo! And you could argue that was complimentary, that he's cheering Trump on.
I just read this from ABC News that Ohio is sending troopers and $2.5 million to Springfield.
The governor was on Fox News today being like, there are very serious problems. And he said, well, I think he was deferential on the pets thing, but he said they can't drive cars. The driving laws in Haiti are way different. And so these people come here, there's 15,000 of them. And the law says if you're 18, you can get a driver's license, but they don't know how to drive and they're crashing their cars. Dude, the problems are massive. And the media is going like, oh, I got to point this out. He put Pepe in it, too. It's
I know.
What did you think was going to happen?
Exactly.
Anyway.
A dancing frog, dude. Come on.
A couple of them. And anyway, the governor's like, we've got to send in all the troopers and this money because of these problems. The crazy thing to me is that when Trump says they're eating the dogs, the media just says, well, we asked a bureaucrat, he denies this. And they don't even look into the city at all, which is laden with crisis.
So I'm still wondering what's happening in Springfield. What's happening in Springfield? Sounds like a Simpsons episode.
They're eating the dogs.
There's a video of a woman crying, saying that she found a decapitated dog. Okay. We don't know like where these people are from or how she's crying, being like, y'all are making fun of it. You're making jokes about it and we're suffering. We're scared.
Yeah. No.
There's a bunch of videos of locals being like, I seen it. They're rounding up cats.
And the biggest thing is like 15,000 Haitian migrants have arrived in Springfield pretty rapidly. Springfield is less than 55,000 people. So it's a big, it's a big boost on their population. And I think about 3 years, they have temporary protected status under the Biden administration. There are local resources now being diverted to support them. Like there's a Haiti community center that's specifically to help the refugees, which, I don't know if they are technically refugees or what their claim was when they arrived. But it's causing this relationship with the town where the people are struggling. And I do not think the claim that all immigrants assimilate apply here. It seems like there is a divide between this growing population of people who come from a different culture and who are maybe not aware or abiding by all of the laws of the area, and then the locals who feel as though this is not something that benefits them. I mean, DeWine, the governor of Ohio, just asked for additional support from the federal government because of this result. I know the idea that like we would say, oh, they're eating the dogs freaks people out. It's the flashiest way to do it. But in some ways, I'm glad that's how Trump put it, because I don't think you can just say that immigration has no effect or only has a positive effect on America. It can have a negative effect when there's no cultural assimilation and there's no real investment in the nation. If you're a population living somewhere but lawlessly, that's not great.
Yeah, and you also have residents who are going to town meetings on camera voicing that they've seen firsthand of these migrants, taking geese out of ponds, seeing people's pets going missing, and then there's a weird barbecue happening in the alley. So you have people that are just totally not connected to politics now coming to their representatives and saying what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the people have amnesty. All the immigrants that are doing this are like,
they have temporary protected status. They're allowed to be here, so they're not illegal. On the other hand, I don't think that's exactly the immigration system we want for the president to say, well, these people now are granted an ability to stay here.
This is small town Ohio. I'm from a town of 50,000 people in Ohio. This is like exactly what I grew up in. Or Cuyahoga Falls 25 years
Can you
ago.
imagine it's just like
Springfield is just outside of Dayton.
Okay, so it's northwest Ohio. I grew up in a Cuyahoga Falls, 45,000 people. It was the exact same size apparently as Springfield. I don't know, square kilometer or whatever, but importing 15,000 people from another country that have a different culture
in like 3 years.
That would have completely disrupted our city.
Mm-hmm.
No one was eating your pets under President Trump, Ian.
Just walking around. I could go to the park, leave our back door open, ride my bike alone at 10 o'clock at 9 o'clock at night. If there were dudes walking around from a foreign country that didn't speak my language, it would have changed everything.
Crashing cars too. So even if we want to say fine, I don't care, drop the dog thing. The governor is talking about this. The locals are talking about this. They don't know how to drive cars, but he says they don't have driver education. So there's crazy videos of them crashing because they just don't know how to drive.
Man, it's hard, I think, for people outside of it to visualize how that can change a society when a fourth of your people don't speak the language or are from outside of the country. Not that they all don't speak the language, but within a 3-year period, how
a lot of
absorbent.
A lot of the residents are talking about the wait times at hospitals and for medical services. I mean, separate from the more like spicy headline making topics, it's a very difficult thing to drop on a small town in America that might be already struggling economically. And that's what the Biden administration did, because they do not care about middle America. He said, I'm going to grant them status and that's it. You guys have to deal with it. And the town, I assume, did the best they could. But it's not as easy as just saying, well, you live here now, and so everything is fine. It's sort of the opposite of that.
I'm thinking about them driving and crashing. That's
no,
nuts.
Ian's thinking about voting for Trump.
What's the traffic? Yeah, did you hear him talk about deportation? I wish they went deeper on that in the debate.
A little bit. He said local police. But once again, I agree with you that Kamala goaded Trump, and Trump started getting too involved in these, like, talking about the election was a mistake. He did correct that and said that's old news. We need to talk. That was a good move but he did roast a little too long on it. Yeah, he had a great opportunity. I think he missed a great opportunity, but it was Kamala's. Kamala needed the opportunity, Trump didn't, and Kamala did not. You bring it home. So
I think she's talking to people in this instance about immigration and deportation. She seems to be talking to people that don't understand what's happening, or they're just hearing about it in the news. And he's talking to the people that are directly being impacted or involved with people in their neighborhood that are creating gangs or new new cultures of, like, strange, you call it whatever, weird, strange, just different cultures. It's a bigger deal than it seems, especially for little kids, man.
I mean, people are posting videos from Haiti where they're eating cats, and these are all over the internet. And so the assumption is, here I'll tell you this: how are you supposed to find evidence that they're eating cats? They ate the cat. Like, what is the evidence? Like, you find a cat skeleton buried somewhere, I guess, maybe. I don't know. It's in the garbage. They threw it in the garbage. The garbage is taken out. So I don't know what these people are going to expect to find. We know that there are videos out of Haiti where they eat cats. You put 15,000 Haitians in this town, it seems like it's reasonable to assume it may have happened. I don't know.
Is it just a common food there? They eat them like we eat pigs kind of thing?
It depends on what you read. But if you Google search and you set the time frame for only before August, you'll see a lot of stories about how it's a rarity. It's like a traditional thing. Some people do it because they're desperate, but usually that's not the reason. It's like they might cook a cat for a holiday. I don't know how much of that's true, though. But if you before the controversy, you can find tons of stories about Haitians eating cats.
Man, in the United States, it's like taboo to eat dogs and cats. You just don't do it here.
Yeah, because they're our friends.
Well, the thing is, there are reports that they're stealing pets,
right,
of people in those towns.
But here's what I would say. I think that's where it gets confusing to people, and it sounds crazy, right? Cats are let outside. You have a cat, you open the door, the cat goes off. So what if, here's the reasonable assumption, if Haitians do eat cats, from Haiti, not like somebody who's born in America and is Haitian, okay? There's a woman who made a video where she says she's Haitian, but she's from America, and she's like, her dad, like, talked about this stuff. It's crazy. So let's say there's a cat walking down the street. They walk up to it, they catch it, and they snap its neck, and they go, hey, we got a cat, and they eat it. That was someone's pet. They didn't go and steal it from someone's house. It was a cat walking around the neighborhood that they just thought was an animal, a wild animal. So when we see complaints from locals about ducks and geese being taken, there's a photo. It's not from Ohio, but it's a guy carrying a goose. We don't know exactly what the context is. But if it is reasonable to assume that they do take ducks and geese, then what's the difference of them grabbing a cat off the street? Or not even the street, like a tree. Like they're walking through the park and they see a duck and they see a cat and they're like, here you go, meat. I think if you've got people who grew up in a society where they hunt for food and they eat whatever food they can get, or they have different traditions, I don't understand why the media wants to play this. Well, I do get it. They're lying because they're trying to cover things up, but it's silly. It is not unreasonable to say a foreign culture that has reports of eating cats comes to the United States and doesn't understand our norms, our laws, whatever, eats cats.
Yeah, in 3 years without, I mean, indoctrination takes decades to learn, to really, it's not like they come here and start watching the news and start to immediately all learn everything about American culture. You get here and you're like, where's little Haiti? I need to go hang out with people that speak my language. Let's get started.
The governor of Ohio said this. They first bring in Haitians, and then when other Haitians come, they say, I want to go where I fit in. And so they move to this area. That is a problem, and it inhibits assimilation, and it makes the lives of the migrants worse off. But let's jump to this next story. This is a big one. The Telegraph says the conservative Michael Moore taking on the crazy diversity industry. I'd like to give a shout out to Matt Walsh. He is doing the Lord's work. I'd like to give a shout out to the Daily Wire crew and everyone who worked on What is a Woman, as well as Am I Racist? It is some of the greatest and most important activism, some of the most effective and brilliant activism. And Matt Walsh deserves some kind of independent media Emmy equivalent or whatever. Check this out. Riley Gaines says several interviewees from Matt Walsh's new film, Am I Racist?, have deactivated their X accounts since the trailer went public. As always, sunlight is the best disinfectant. And he says, folks, you're welcome. But now we have a statement from Robin DiAngelo. PhD. She basically wastes time explaining what happened. We don't need to hear it. But here's where it gets interesting. It seems like she may be lining up a fraud claim. And I noticed this right away reading her statement. She makes reference to receiving money, $15,000, to participate in a film called Shades of Justice about efforts to address racism in the United States. They plan to interview anti-racist activists, authors, and thought leaders in service of supporting the cause of racial equity. They offered between $10,000 and $20,000 for an interview. I said, let's meet in the middle with 15 and agreed to participate. When she arrived, she says a few things felt off. The group did not make eye contact with me, and the interviewer, who was introduced as Matt, appeared to be wearing an ill-fitting wig. Matt presented himself as someone new to anti-racist work and seemed earnest, and his questions did not come across as adversarial. By the end, however, things got weird. She basically goes on to explain the scene that everybody's seen already, where she pays reparations to the black producer, Ben. She tries to make it seem like Ben is a victim when the producer of the film is clearly in on it with Matt. Here's where it gets interesting, though. She does go on to criticize Matt, but she brings up how it was misrepresented. It was a different film. And I wonder if she's trying to present some kind of fraud claim. Now, so I've had some conversations behind the scenes asking some friends of mine who are lawyers what they thought. None of this is by means legal expertise or anything. Just I'm curious, and I want to say something I want to opine on. When you get those Borat style mockumentaries, my understanding is he doesn't pay anybody, but I don't know for sure. My understanding was that he just goes and says, oh, we're filming a video about this wacky guy who moves to America. You want to be in it? General release, and we'll film you. What Robin is claiming is that it was a different film name, and they materially misrepresented what was being requested from her, and and the reason why they were giving her money. So I'll phrase this another way. Imagine you were offered a role in a movie, and they said, Ian, we want you to be in a commercial for the Super Bowl where you are going to, cut your nose hair or something using someone's scissors or something like this. Let's say you agree to be in that commercial. You film a bunch of different scenes. They pay you money. And then the commercial that airs says that you have AIDS. You have HIV, and it shows you sitting in a chair and it's playing sad music. This actually happened once. There was a woman, and she was a model. This is a famous story. And they asked her to take a picture. And what she didn't know was that they ran it as an advertisement where it was her and a husband, and there were little kids who were disgustingly ugly, and they were advertising plastic surgery. Basically using her image without her knowing to make claims that she was actually an ugly person who got surgery to sell plastic surgery. It destroyed her career. She sued. So I'm wondering if they went to her and they said, it's a film called Shades of Justice. We're going to pay you $15,000 in exchange for your interview, which is legal consideration, but misrepresenting it. The first thing I thought when I read this was, I wonder if she wants to sue for fraud, or she's trying to make that the claim.
As an actor in that situation, I would feel defrauded for sure if they paid me and used me and to promote some message that I didn't agree to. yeah, hopefully there'll be a legal system in place to help me against a company that would do that kind of thing.
I'll say a couple things on top of that, though. If she did sue the Daily Wire, they'd make substantially more money. They may be counting on these people suing, but also it may actually just be that they never misrepresented anything she said. Everything she said was her own words, and so she may not have any claims at all. And I have to imagine the Daily Wire had strong legal go through everything. I'm just saying it sounds like she wants to take the angle that they committed fraud against her or
I
something.
wonder if they actually created a company. What's it called? Shades of
Justice was the film that
Film. So they didn't actually put out a film called Shades of Justice, but if they like created an entity that then paid her, and so it was on the table, like that they had a company made just for the purpose of owning this movie, or if it was actually Daily Wire saying that they were a different company, misrepresenting the company, and then paying her, that would have been a different story.
I gotta be honest though, if the Daily Wire reached out to Robin DiAngelo and said, we're working on a documentary film called Am I Racist?, where we explore racism, we talk to academics, that name is not bad. She would have said, okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah, she would have been like, oh yeah, wow. And it was like asking the question of like, what is racism? Are people actually racist? And we want the academics to explain what that is, because a lot of people don't think they are. That would have worked out just fine.
Yeah, I'm sure they wanted her to have that guard down. Think that she was talking to some kind of
I was going to say, as long as it wasn't the Daily Wire that reached out, she would have not said yes. That Am I Racist? A film title she might have
Or
gone
if she
for.
said yes, then she would have been very defensive against the Daily Wire and would have had, wouldn't have done some of the ridiculous things on camera.
But Matt Walsh literally walks in the room and she doesn't know who he is.
When she says ill-fitting wig, I'm like, you thought that later. You didn't know it was a
That's the
wig
vibe
then.
I'm getting too.
And I think it's interesting that she is like, he did appear to be in earnest. Like, I
think he was in earnest.
I think Matt Walsh is someone who is intellectually curious. Like, I think he really did want her genuine take and response, which is also interesting. Like, you were asked questions that someone really did want the answer to. It wasn't like a gotcha prank, and then he like, I mean, I guess she had to pay the producer, but it's not like it was humiliating if these are your values, I would assume. I don't know.
I just got to say as well, though, Matt Walsh is a master of deadpan. So she maybe thinks it's in earnest because he's just so like deadpan.
You just can't read him at all.
Yeah, he's just like, so am I racist? And it's just like, you don't get a read. He's just, Matt should learn up. Matt, do you play poker? Matt would be a great poker player. He'd be sitting there stone faced and they'd be like, I have no idea what he's doing.
He's a really unique guy. Because at first I'm like, he's just like your normal average guy. But that's what's unique about him is he's so almost like blends in to the background. And I think he does that maybe by choice. That's kind of his.
I can only imagine the things that Matt Walsh has seen that has brought him to a point where he is unfazed by all of these things before him.
Yeah, what was his childhood like? I don't know anything about him. I want to hang out with him and know.
He saw great combat, conflict, and war, and now it's like nothing gets him going. He's just like, okay.
Or was he just on Reddit for like 8 years when he was younger, and now he's like, nothing can faze me?
I just found out recently he's younger than me.
Oh, yeah?
I'm older than Matt Walsh by 3 months.
Really? He's very adult.
It's the beard.
And the kids.
I'll never have a Matt Walsh beard.
Yeah,
I'm excited. This is coming out did it come out today?
We got to watch
Premiered this week, right?
I think today is a Thursday previews, and then tomorrow is the movie.
So I can't comment too much on it until I see the movie, yeah.
You can already tell it's going to be massive. I'm like, they're running TV commercials for it. It's in theaters. I'm super excited for this one. I think we're going to go Korean barbecue and then watch the movie.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
It's going to make her way more famous, that's for sure. Robin DiAngelo. I think a lot of people didn't know who she was.
I am so proud of the Daily Wire. This is exactly what I've been talking about the whole time about how you win a culture war. So far what I've seen from the trailers, they have just presented them as they are, but with an authoritative tone of how silly are they? Because you want to create an atmosphere where everyone thinks, oh, of course I'm not stupid like they are. But you don't accomplish that by being so overt. Like you see that show, The New Norm, we roasted several times, where they try and do these shows that are just on the nose. Actually, Daily Wire was accused of this with the Mr. Burcham or whatever that show was called. They said or Lady Ballers, they say all of the jokes are too on the nose. It's like you're literally just saying this is a bad thing. This is masterfully done in that Matt Walsh, in earnest, asking them questions, makes them look stupid. And it makes them the butt of the joke without directly saying they're stupid.
I'm just wondering, am I racist? Genuine question. I wonder about that. What is white supremacy?
Have you given Serge reparations?
No, I never did.
He's African American.
But I want to repair his microphone. That'd be a nice place to start.
It's not broken. Serge made a choice.
Look at that haircut, man.
Serge made a creative decision.
Is it even cut? That hair is just like
Afro cut.
a bush, just a wild South African bush growing wild.
I think you're bullying
Like
our
the
only
acacia plant.
African American
I love
employee
his
in
hair.
the room.
No, he's beautiful.
That's called positive discrimination, Ian, so you're racist.
You're right. I was discriminating about how awesome his hair is.
That actually is. To these people, this is the crazy thing. Like, that's considered a bad racist thing. No, you can't say Asians are good at math. It's a compliment, but it's a racial stereotype and it's wrong. Not all Asians are good at math.
Yeah, when people are like, "Oh, I love black women," that's like a racist. Technically, it is a racist comment. Like if you're like, "I like this particular race of woman or creed of woman or whatever," like, quit being so racist. Why? Sometimes you're just chemically drawn to things.
I'm good at math.
Well, that goes without saying.
I don't know. I don't know. That's how the business works.
Maybe you guys can answer this. What is white supremacy?
Well, in the literal sense of what most rational human beings think it means, it's people who believe that white racial genetics and ethnicities are superior to other races. Of course, to these people, it literally just means Western civilization.
That's what I'm wondering. And so I gotta ask someone that's in this state of mind, this weird thing, what is it?
Okay, well, let's break it down.
I don't think Robin's taking questions now, though.
Yeah.
It seems
So
like she might be
let's break down the reality of it. Everybody knows what white supremacy is, and the quote-unquote anti-racist authors know exactly what white supremacy is. They decided to use the phrase white supremacy different to how it normally is used in an effort to manipulate people of weak will. So the technique is take a phrase that is obviously a bad thing that everyone hates, apply something else to it, and then you can demonize that thing. So, for instance, what they're talking about is Western civilization. They say being on time is white supremacy. They say saving for the future. I'm not exaggerating. They say saving for the future is white supremacy. Anything that is a component, meritocracy is white supremacy. So basically, white supremacy means bad thing.
I can guarantee meritocracy is not. If they said that, they're wrong, because Genghis Khan was all about meritocracy.
I know, and they're racist. And I've told this story many times. The guy in North Dakota who said that, he said, scheduling is white supremacy. It's colonial thinking to me. And I was like, what? Because I had a meeting. I have a meeting in 3 days. I got to leave. And he goes, that's colonial thinking. The white colonial settlers brought schedules to the United States. Native Americans just woke up when they needed to. And I was like, Asians had time. Like I'm part Korean. Like my people had a sense of time and set schedules well before the white people came. And he goes, well, but we all know the white settlers went to Asia and gave those ideas. And I was like, China invented the compass 1,000 years before you, dude. You are nuts. And I said, I was like, somewhat jokingly, but like somewhat seriously. And I said, I will not sit here, because I was at a table full of people, and have a white supremacist tell me that he is better than my people and my ancestry or whatever. But this is the funny thing. They're literally just white supremacists. And I mean that in the literal sense. They are white people who think they are superior and they're guilty about it. I'm not exaggerating. It's not meant to be cute. When people like Robin DiAngelo give money to a black man, she's literally saying it's because I'm better off than you are, so you need this. That is the mentality they possess. Instead of being like, I don't know, Will Smith's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He doesn't need anything from me. I don't care about his race. He's a very smart, talented, and wealthy individual. They don't. They say, nope, skin color. That's white supremacy. It's them. There you go.
Yeah. Racial supremacy in general. Just like thinking your
Well, I
own
gotta
race
tell you,
is
dude,
superior.
Koreans are very racist.
In what way?
They literally believe they're the supreme race.
Korea?
Now yeah. And the younger generations don't hold these views, but there's actually a deep historical reason for it. So, Japan, of course, just brutalizes and rapes the Koreans quite a bit. I'm 5% Japanese, by the way. Ask me how that happened.
That's awesome.
And not in that context. Geez, Ian, calm down. So anyway, basically, the Japanese are very ethno-nationalist and racially supremacist. They believe Japanese people are superior, blah, blah, blah. Or at least they did to a great degree hundreds of years ago. So when they enslave and conquer parts of Korea and basically control Korea, the Korean response was, no, we're actually the superior race. They needed morale to counter the the conquest of the Japanese. And so they built within their own culture that they were actually superior. And so now they very much think they're superior. But again, the younger generations don't hold those views. The older generations tend to.
So white supremacy is probably an extension of Roman supremacy, because the Romans were a lot like that too. They were brutalized by their neighbors until they decided they're going to stop being brutalized. And now they're going to become the great ones, the conquerors.
I would have believed Korean supremacy when Gangnam Style dominated the world in 2012.
Yeah, but that was orchestrated intentionally.
By who?
What was that guy's name? Scooter something? Yeah, he publicly talks about
Taylor
this.
Swift guy?
Was it
Braun?
Scooter Braun? It might have been. I think I met him. Maybe it wasn't him. All I know is I was at like Google World or whatever it was called. And they talked about how they intentionally...
Gangnam Style was a psyop, is what you're saying.
It was a marketing campaign by international outlets that they wanted to isolate a song that they saw like Macarena that could be a bop. And so they worked a big marketing campaign to make it a meme. And
I mean, they nailed it.
yeah, they did. It was great.
Nailed it.
Joel's like, I must talk to them and see how they.
No, I fell for it. Yeah, seriously, I fell for
The story was that they were looking for us. So I could be wrong about this. It's been a decade plus since I heard the story, but I was at a Google event and the guy there, I thought it was that Scooter guy. I could be wrong. Maybe it's not. It was the guy who found Justin Bieber. Was that him?
Yeah, Scooter Braun.
Oh, I think this was him.
Public enemy of Taylor Swift. Interesting.
Totally could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure he told us this story where it was they had found the song. They knew he was big. They knew he was very popular in Korea, and they felt like it could be like a Macarena, and so they said they wanted to do a big campaign to push it. And Psy said something like, "If you can make me big in America, you can keep all the money." And they were like, "No, we can't do that. We can't do that. You're going to get paid, but we're going to make this huge, and we're going to make a lot of money off it." And so, the long story short of it is, it was a big marketing campaign. It was totally inorganic. It was intentionally made to go viral, like Justin Bieber, right? They found him on YouTube or whatever. And like, I don't know much about that story with Justin Bieber, but I'm pretty sure it was like he was already assigned talent and they just pretended like they found some kid on YouTube. Is that what it was? Do you know anything about it?
I've heard that he was discovered on YouTube, but actually he was already in talks with talent agencies and stuff. I've never really known for sure what the origin story. He basically got like adopted by Usher and then was suddenly, on his way to pop star. And P. Diddy, Serge is saying.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm allowed to talk about pop culture over here.
It's great stories. So, Gangnam Style appears on Reddit and then makes it to the front page of Reddit. And then it just keeps popping up on social media and it goes viral. And
you're ruining Joel's faith in pop culture.
Seriously.
No. The problem is Napal Baji is the best Psy song and they didn't promote it. So Americans don't even know it. And it's way better than Gangnam Style. I'm not kidding. Napal Baji. Look it up. It's a way better song. And then what did they promote? They promoted like Daddy and Gentleman. And those are good. Like Psy is good, but Napal Baji is his best song. I defy anyone to challenge me on that. And it's just that it wasn't a big promotion for them, so it never really got big. Yeah, the singles they lined up, they were like Psy's back with the new song, I got it from my daddy or whatever, and then Gentleman. And I was like, they needed to do Napal Baji.
We're going to go to Super Chats almost immediately, but Joel, I got to ask you about your big promotion here, because you've just changed kind of roles. You're going from Matt Gaetz' office to Lauren Boebert's office. What's happening, man? And what's the plan? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, Lauren Boebert is already a star in Congress. I'm hoping to make her a superstar. I've had.
Is that how you pitched yourself? You're like, look,
What?
you could be a superstar.
No,
Just,
I mean,
stop talking.
I was more humble than that. I've known Congresswoman Boebert now for I think about 2 years now. I see her all over the place when I'm traveling with Matt or Matt Gaetz, or I'm with them in the Capitol building. And I think serving in Matt's office, I think we made huge strides from where he was in 2020 when I joined to 2024. And, I kind of felt, 4.5 years, I thought it was graduation time. And Matt, obviously, he's a friend of mine. I'm always going to be a loyal soldier of his. So if he ever needs anything, I told him when I was departing, anything you need, I'll still be there, still be in the fight. But I've always been inspired by Matt and Lauren, and I wanted to join her fight. And we'd always been having some conversations about what her goals were for Colorado. She's obviously switching districts from Colorado's 3rd to the 4th. So she has these big plans to make sure we end the year strong, representing the 3rd district. and moving on to represent the 4th. And, I'm very driven by being inspired by people's vision. And I was really excited by her.
Do you get focused more on like the federal promotion of her in the federal role or on state tactics?
What do you mean?
Like you really, or what is, do you focus most on like promote, like making her famous? Is that really what it's about? Is like more coverage on what she's doing holistically?
No, I think she does that all by herself naturally. I think some of these newcomers in Congress who shot to stardom immediately, that's just their natural charisma. I'm there to help maximize their message and their vision. And I've done that in many ways with Matt on the federal level and in the local level. But I actually, when I was meeting with Lauren these past few months, I wasn't totally aware of these major accomplishments she had been doing locally. And she had been without proper, comms professionals for a while. And, I thought this would be a great time to jump in. And, a lot of people like to disparage her, a lot of the mainstream media, a lot of these losers on social media. But I thought, if you had someone like me on your team, we could push out the great things that you're doing on the ground. But at the same time, let's take advantage of the things that people care about nationally. Let's figure out a way to get your voice in there because she's an important one.
All right, we're gonna go to Super Chats. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all your friends. Head over to timcast.com, click join us to become a member and support our work directly. We're gonna have an amazing Culture War episode for you tomorrow. So go to youtube.com/Timcast. Josh Seiter will be here with Alex Stein. This is going to be one of the weirdest podcasts I've ever done. And I imagine it will be quite enjoyable. So that's youtube.com/Timcast, but we'll grab your Super Chats now. T-Bomb says, members only, 7 Days to Die server starting up this weekend. Info and discussion in the Discord.
Are you kidding me? Have you played 7 Days, dude?
No.
It's awesome. It's like Minecraft, but it's zombies, fighting zombies, building defenses. It's amazing. It's great.
Did I ever tell you my video game idea?
No.
We got to make it.
Which one?
So the idea is every week, you build defenses, you collect materials, and it's like kind of like GTA. And then we pick a day like Friday, maybe Sunday, at like 7 p.m., a disaster happens. And you never know what the disaster is going to be. So it's like the whole week you're collecting ammo, you're getting food, you're getting money, you're buying stuff, you're driving around. And then Saturday we give you like a hint. And it's like, get prepared. And then Sunday, there's a countdown. And then right at 7, it could be a flash flood. It could be an alien invasion. It could be zombies. It could be like the military. Imagine this. You're playing and then all of a sudden the countdown starts and it says half the players will be government, half the players will be revolutionary. Bang! And then just boom, everyone just switches. And now it's like survive.
Every time, you told me this a few times, and it makes me think of 7 Days because every 7 days there's a blood moon and the zombies go psychotic. So you should check it out because it might give you more inspiration.
I've had this idea for a decade plus, and it came from the corrupted blood incident in World of Warcraft, where a plague spread accidentally in the game, and virologists, epidemiologists or whatever, tracked the data from it because it mimicked real-world pandemics. And so I was like, what if we made a game that simulates a disaster every week, and then you track the data on how people respond to, say, a flash flood, an earthquake, a volcanic eruption, a meteor strike. Imagine you're playing and you build up this big fortress and you're like, dude, I am so ready. And then the meteor hits right into your base and you're dead instantly. And you're like, oh man, I didn't get to play. It's like, you died, So I pitched this. Vice was interested. One of their executives was like, we could probably do that. And we worked on it a little bit and then never went anywhere. Someone else should make it. Or maybe that's close enough to what 7 Days.
You could mod it. That you could mod the server and make it do crazy, every 7 days, some crazy shit just goes down. That'd be wild.
And then basically release the data on how players responded. The goal is survive. And then it would be like 37% of players became mass murderers and started stealing and looting.
I tell you, man, people think about zombie apocalypse, but the zombie dogs are no joke because they are fast and small and hard to hit.
Don't tell the Haitians.
All right. John Enyart says, first Super Chat longtime viewer. No tax on overtime would be amazing since I work 10 to 30 hours of overtime weekly. That's what I'm saying. Ben Hickson says, Australia is putting for a misinformation bill where the news media is excluded and harm includes efficacy of preventative health measures in Australia. Search misinformation bill Australia 2024. Wow, that's crazy. All right. Kalishnikov says, this sounds like early steps in a negotiation process. If the Kamala campaign really wants a debate, Trump will appear like he's not interested until they get desperate enough to accept on his terms. Imagine hosted by Fox. They would never do it. Yep. Let's go. We'll grab some more super chats. Kyle Lipka says, Trump not wanting another debate seems like bait for an overconfident Kamala campaign to finally agree to a Fox debate with Trump Trump-biased moderators where he can maybe hammer her on economics unhindered. Trump made a good point. He says when a fighter loses the championship match, he immediately demands a rematch. The winner says, I won. And so Kamala immediately coming out and being like, I want another one, I think suggests they know she didn't get the economy stuff, and that's what she really needed. And so while she may have goaded Trump may have slipped up, he's like, well, she missed where it mattered. Don't give her. And now he knows they're going to correct for this, and he doesn't need to give her the opportunity. He can say he did the debate, and he can go, oh, yeah, I guess she did well, didn't she? But I'm better on the economy, and she will never get a rebuttal.
Yep.
Let's go. Jason Dixon says, Tim, will you please play the Eating the Cat song? I'd also like to see you dance to it in your chair. Well, I was head bobbing. That was great.
He mentions cats, but it's mostly about dogs.
Yeah, it was mostly dogs.
I think it's funny that he was like, I'm making this so that Trump looks bad. Like, did you not watch it back afterwards? It's so funny.
So good.
All right. Nicosia Connection says, Rip Faye the Swan. Faye was the mascot of the town of Manillas, New York, outside of Syracuse. She lost her life and was eaten by Burmese migrants. Her babies were fortunately recovered. Syracuse, New York is David Muir's hometown. You can't make this stuff up. Wow. That's crazy. Tyler Bratton says, at the LP convention, Trump promised to end the income tax and replace it with tariffs. Did he?
I don't know.
I don't remember that. That's a big deal.
I still want to know which libertarian he would name to his cabinet. I can understand why he's not, declaring who right now, but it would be interesting, like which cabinet position he thinks would be best suited for a libertarian.
What if he said Dave Smith? Would
That's
you,
what I was
would
just
you vote
thinking.
for him? Would you vote for him?
If Dave Smith was like, yeah, I'm 100%. Yeah, Dave Smith deserves to be, I want him in office.
So if Donald Trump said he's going to bring Dave Smith into his cabinet, you'd vote for Trump?
If Dave Smith was like, yes, I am doing
Right.
it. Yeah, 100%.
Like if Dave walked up, they shook hands, and Dave was like, I'll do what I can.
Oh, yeah, you're voting for a coalition at that point. I mean, you're still voting for a coalition.
I actually think it's reasonable that Trump, that could actually happen. Like, in terms of things that are within the realm of possibility, that is one of them. Granted, it's probably a long shot, but I'll put it this way. If prominent Trump personality forces were like, Dave Smith's popular, prominent, he's friends with Rogan, he's got moderates, he's not a big Trump guy, but if you promise to bring him in and he agreed, you're going to win several more percentage points from moderates.
Easily. I mean, yes.
I think it's more a question of would Dave do it?
Yeah, it is. That's the question. Because he could have had the LP nomination for sure.
It's easy for Trump to promise a cabinet position to anybody.
I mean, what about someone like Rand Paul?
Oh, like the libertarians all said at the convention, if Trump brought Rand Paul in, they all vote for him. They were just like, if he brings in Rand Paul, then we're voting for him. Rand's great.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, he is great.
Yeah, get him as close to the White House as possible.
Yeah.
All right. Common Sense Fishing says, being a fellow business owner, Tim, I'd have thought you'd have known that the company pays the same amount no matter what. The taxes come out of employees' pay. So no way that companies can abuse this. For overtime? What do you mean?
No, I was the one that was asking that question. You didn't say anything about it. I was wondering if the company's payroll taxes are going to change if they're...
Well, I was saying that a boss is going to be like, oh, that must have been you. Because what I was saying was, if I have 12 hours that need to be filled in one work day or whatever, and I can get one person to work the whole time, why hire two people?
Because it costs you more to have two people, doesn't it? And just in general?
It depends on how you're scheduling them. If you're paying overtime, you're paying $5 more per hour. However, you could arguably pay less because it's tax-free. So instead of paying two people at $10 an hour, you tell the one guy, I'll give you $9 an hour, but the overtime work you're going to get is time and a half tax-free. And so you figure out the mathematical equation to where you're actually getting one guy to work more for less.
There it is.
But I don't know if that ultimately checks out in the end, so... Roger Johnson says, oil field automation worker here. You are not an admin. If you are not an admin ornament, is that what you're saying? Or management. Oh, okay. I see. It's a typo. and actually go out and do physical or computer programming, your employer is required to pay you straight overtime. Well, there you go. Seductive Rue says, requesting prayers for my cat, Archie. Vet diagnosed him with kidney disease, says he only has a few months left. He's only 4 years old, no idea the cause.
They'll tell you that, man. Healthy diet, get them on some organic foods. I looked into stem cells. It's not cheap. It was like $4,000 or $5,000 for the operation. Yeah, stem cells worked wonders. It's hard to tell because we changed his diet right at the time, but I tell you, man, you get him on some really good organic meats, you'd be shocked at how healthy that cat can become.
There's also kidney transplants. So a cat that is on death row, these cats that are in shelters, that are kill shelters or whatever, they will say, if you take this cat, they will put one of his kidneys in the other cat, but you have to adopt the other cat. So it saves 2 lives. That's the deal. So that's an opportunity.
Also, Archie, if Archie wants to live, he's going to live. So give him the love.
And do not take him to Springfield, Ohio.
All right. Roger says, on Indeed, it says a ramp agent in Rockford makes $19 an hour. That sounds about right, but Rockford's pretty far from O'Hare. I'd imagine that the wages, because it's 20 years ago when I was working at O'Hare, being paid $10 an hour. I have to imagine it's 20 today. Let's go. SD says, Tim and crew, I absolutely appreciate your work. Godspeed in the coffee shops. I live in Baltimore, but we'll definitely make it a point to get to the coffee shop weekly, to be with individuals that have free thought. Again, thank you. The real thing that we're excited for, and maybe, I've been saying this, but I'm trying to manage too much. The second floor of the building, we want to be a private club. The problem we have right now is the way the city and the state view the building is that there's only one floor. There's 3 floors, but they're all considered one open structure. So if you have stairs, and it's open and it's a public accommodation, you have to have a way for handicapped people to get up those stairs. The elevator we have is from the 1900s, one of the oldest elevators in the country. We don't want to replace it. To custom mill all the parts to get it up to code would be absolutely insane. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Or we can do a $50,000 replacement and get rid of a historic elevator in one of the oldest buildings. We don't want to do that either. So we were like, let's just call the second floor private and the first floor. And they said, actually, the way the building's designed, the second and the first floor are one unit. And the second and third floor aren't even separated by a wall, it's just stairs. So it's all one unit. And we're like, what? There's a door. The first floor, there's a door you have to open. And the door doesn't mean anything. You actually have to close it off and create it. So we're like, so we wanted to open the private club first while we're waiting for the coffee shop, but it's a historic building. It's hard to change. And it's just been, it's funny because contractors are like, look, it's the city. And the city's like, no, it's not us. And we're like, okay, whatever.
Have you looked into those stair elevator things? Can you use those?
Yeah, but it's like a track escalator you install, but then we're modifying a historic building once again, and we run into the same problems. So we're like, then how do we just get this going? And they're like, you're almost there, and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can't believe it, dude. But now I can probably make assumptions as to why the previous owner sold the building. I think they just don't. I think they don't want the building to change. It's a historic building. They're like, use it as I don't know. I don't trust them. I am kind of pissed off because I keep saying, like, dude, we could rent a strip mall storefront for a couple grand and have the coffee shop open in a month.
That's a good point.
So I'm like, whatever. But it's the work is happening. That's all I can say. The work is happening. It's like it's not like people aren't just sitting around. It's just annoying. And the building is there. It's right next to Mamba Collectibles in Martinsburg. Shout out to Mamba. Play Commander, Magic the Gathering on Saturdays.
In the meantime, go to castbrew.com and get a bag of Graphene Dream. It's really good. Easy on the stomach.
Yeah, we need to actually, we never, you know what? Maybe we never formally launched the competition.
Well, I'm winning regardless.
You are actually.
It's me versus, oh, yeah.
No,
because. Hard to beat Graphene Dream.
Well,
I wrote a song about it, actually. It's on my YouTube channel.
Well, because people bought the Graphene Dream and then reported that's actually one of the best blends that we have flavor-wise.
Excellent.
And so it started to sell more and more and more. Like I always mention this. When we first launched, Rise with Roberto Jr. was going to be our flagship product. And that's why we put the rooster on it. Appalachian Nights was just my choice. I like dark roast. And I thought Appalachian Nights sounded cool. And then once everyone started buying Roberto Jr., and they get a little bit of Appalachian Nights, but then once they bought it, they were like, this is the best coffee I've ever had. And then Appalachian Nights became number one no matter what we promoted. Something similar happened with Graphene Dream, where we were like, Ian's got coffee, and people were like, oh, I'll try it. And now it's selling a lot because people are like, actually, this is delicious. This is super good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm going to pivot into Appalachian Nights for my next couple weeks, I think.
Do you guys make them with like K-cups?
Yep. Yeah, we got K-cups, we got whole bean, we got ground, and we are going to be launching protein bars.
Cool.
I've got one right here.
And they're based. So, like, where are the ingredients? I don't know. There's like
Promo
5
that
ingredients.
like a Feastable.
It says Time Pool on it. There's a misprint. That's funny.
Yep, they're all
Time
misprinted.
Pool. This one is vanilla coconut,
Yeah, I only really like the sweet and salty
which
one.
are phenomenal.
So I told Mark Lobliner, I was like, I want a protein bar and I want nothing in it. I was like, give me whey protein, peanut butter, and coconut oil. And he was like, you're going to need a little bit more than that, but we could do that. And so Mark got the formulating, sent me a package, and my mind was blown.
I gotta say, the sweet and salty one melts when you have a sip of coffee with it. It is so good with coffee. We should sell them at the coffee shop for sure. They go great with the coffee.
Are these still in production, or are you guys?
These are the production samples. We have some more coming, but the ingredients. So there's one. It's like double chocolate, and it's got a lot of ingredients. There's like erythritol sweetened chocolate. I'm not a big fan of that, but some people are down with it, and it tastes really good. Sweet and salty is the best. It's the ingredients are peanut butter, whey, coconut oil, fiber, and like peanuts.
We should go.
It's amazing.
You got to get it RFK approved.
Oh,
That
he's
would
gonna be so
so
amazing.
funny.
We'll sell them in little glass, little glass cases. That way, there's no plastic.
Oh yeah.
I'm kidding, by the way. We can't do that.
Are you going to launch with like a one flavor or do a limited, like a small
I think
one?
we have 4 or 5 flavors.
Because the only one I've tried is cake. Is it cake batter or birthday cake?
Yeah, birthday cake. It tastes like birthday cake, but I don't like that stuff.
I think I got one of those here too. Try the sweet and salty when you get a chance. Get like 100 of them or like 200 of them or something.
The reason why I think the sweet and salty
He's
is the
about to
best.
live off of them.
so good, dude.
So the chocolate and the sweet and salty are the best, and it's because the flavors are normal. The vanilla coconut is good, but it's coconut flavor.
I like that there's bits of it seems like there's bits of coconut in it.
Actually, I don't think it's coconut flavor. I think it's actually coconut. The birthday cake one is birthday cake flavored, and that's why it's like, well, it tastes like you're eating a protein bar. But the sweet and salty one tastes like you're eating peanut butter.
Yeah.
Like peanut butter with peanuts in it. And I'm like, oh, they got allulose in them too. Allulose is a sugar that your body does not use.
Derived from monk fruit. Is that correct?
Allulose is the sugar of monk fruit.
Okay.
I don't know that we're using monk fruit derivative allulose. Yeah. All right, let's grab a little bit more here. Stephen Schalk says, if you're making less than $85K a year, you're probably being ripped off if you're on salary.
Man, I know a lot of people that are frustrated with being on salary that work 80 hours, 100 hours. And you never know when you're going to be asked to stay another couple hours. And it's like, just depends on the job, I guess. Because if the job just needs to get done, then it doesn't really matter how long you work. Then salary makes sense.
Let's go. Michael Kavanaugh says, my small town, Perkins, Georgia, has a community well that has failed, and we are trying to raise funds to get drinking water back to about 100 people. Any donations are appreciated. GoFundMe, search Perkins Community Well. Holy crap, dude. I hope it works out. That's crazy. I'll take a look at it to try and figure out.
Is it a GoFundMe, you said? Perkins Community Well?
Gifts and go?
It's GoFundMe. Perkins Community Well.
Yeah, let's get this thing built.
We gotta call Mr. Beast.
Yes. Perkins Community Well. Give, send, go.
It does not want to show me the results. No, it's GoFundMe, not Give, Send, Go.
GoFundMe.
I don't like GoFundMe. They're racist.
They're anti-trucker too.
I'll have to search for it because it doesn't come up on Google.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah, they're anti-trucker and they're racist.
I found it. It's on Gifts
You
and
did?
Go. I'll send you a link.
Oh, it is Give, Send, Go.
GoFundMe, sorry.
Oh,
I don't
why
know
do you
what
guys
I'm
keep
talking
saying
about.
that?
Because this is what we all like and prefer. So it's our default.
I got to tell you guys, people keep saying like, GoFundMe and all that, and I'm just like, I don't want to promote GoFundMe. They've done a bunch of things where they've backstabbed and sabotaged people, and it's not okay. All right. As the world crumbles says, how do you win a debate if you're in office now? Was she arguing with herself? Yes. Indeed.
Do you think there will come a point in the next 6 weeks or however much time we have before the election where she just outright is like, Joe Biden did a bad job? Or do you think she's always going to tack to a like trying to avoid talking about him position?
Avoid.
I think if the numbers start to dramatically move far apart, I feel like they're, I've been seeing consistently they seem neck and neck. But, if she's on a clear downward spiral, maybe.
Or if he comes out against her in any way, maybe.
It would make her look kind of hypocritical because she did praise him in her sort of eulogy at the DNC. On the other hand, maybe that's what the crowd wants. Maybe Democrats want Joe Biden to be the bad guy now. I don't know. Sometimes they eat their own.
Ron says, my town is full of Kamala signs. The town over, the town I visit every other week, all Kamala. All she had to do was not look like an idiot, and Google the media, social media feds will get her over the line.
Someone tweeted at me. I love when people are doing this now. Someone tweeted at me because I like the signs that they were Biden Harris and they just cut off the name. Someone sent me one where it was like they cut but kept the E in Biden. So it's like a little red symbol. And then so it's like this triple equal sign and then Harris. Like the time that it took to just go around this one thing is so funny. So please send me pictures from your town, only if they are formerly Biden Harris signs. Those are the best ones.
All right, let's go. Juice says, if the tax is changed so there are no tax on overtime, this non-tax share would go in the investment fund. This money would always be yours, not state. I don't know what that means. Barrett says you need to be pressing on Israel-Palestine. It's an issue that carries far down ballot, and if argued properly, will pull tons of votes from Dems. Indeed it will. Yep, but the average voter is, it's a fair point to the other guy. They might just be thinking like, I don't know, Trump looks dumb. They're not going to think a lot. But I think anger plays better than condescension when it comes to a bad economy. So the average person just being pissed off and frustrated because they can't pay their rent sees Kamala going, well, meh. And they're just like, she's just smug right now while we're suffering. And she's holding the keys. Trump's yelling at her. Give me Trump. Anger plays better no matter what the anger's about. All right, what do we got? What is this? Stephanie Hill says, okay, she did great that one time, but if that's normal, why was the debate first time we've seen it? And how long did she have to prepare to be that good? I don't know. Maybe she's good in all the debates. Doesn't matter. Trump needs to do better. But I think he did well. Austin Patterson says, why do most GOP people cheer when celebrities endorse Trump and then boo when celebrities endorse Democrats, like the Taylor Swift thing? I don't understand why you ask that question.
It is kind of an assumption that most of them do that, but some people just are in a cult.
Why do people cheer when celebrities endorse Trump and boo when they don't? Because they like Trump.
It's like...
it works the other way, too. They make fun of Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan when they were at the RNC, and then, when they have the rumor of Beyonce, they're thrilled. I mean, I think the media is overstating how freaked out, quote unquote. I kept seeing these headlines like MAGA is melting down because Taylor Swift's endorsed Trump. She's endorsed Democrats for years. People aren't that surprised. It's not groundbreaking.
I thought it was really annoying when everyone was like, FJB, Joe Biden's terrible. Forget Joe Biden, screw Joe Biden. And then Kamala Harris is now the nominee, and they're like, F Kamala Harris, screw Kamala Harris. It's like they just took the chip out and put in the Kamala Harris chip, like NPC alert. You got to be careful you don't become that, no matter what side you
feel like that's not true, and you're just saying that.
It happened overnight when Kamala got the nomination. It was disgusting.
Kamala cast 33 tie-breaking votes, and if not for her, Biden could not sign.
No one even mentioned her name until she was the candidate. It was gross that people immediately just all this focus went, and it's like, now I must hate this thing. Obviously.
The political sphere for which I occupy and the people I follow had been talking about Kamala. Joe Biden as the president and the front runner in the campaign was central focus, but Kamala got a lot of attention. We made fun of the way she spoke all the time.
Kamala Harris got no media attention until about 3 months ago. When she got the nomination.
She got more attention as the front runner for the Democratic Party. That is true, but to make the argument that she wasn't getting apt criticism from the right is silly.
It was just the same criticism for Biden. They unplugged Biden and plugged in Kamala. It was really obvious that it's like NPC alert. It can happen to anybody. Watch out that you don't become that guy.
I feel like we talked about Kamala a lot because there was always this debate of if Biden was going to make it. And then the next thing was, well, do they give it to Kamala? No, they don't like Kamala, and she's bad on a lot of issues. I mean, she didn't pursue interviews. She wasn't putting herself out there, which seemed to be the Biden-Harris campaign or White House strategy, right? They were actually very inaccessible to the press, both of them. But people were critical of her before because they always
was
thought
the border
there was a
czar.
possibility.
She had dominated news cycles as the border czar. As when she went down and said, "Do not come, do not come," and then Trump goes, "I'm going to come." Like she said, tons of viral memes roasting her and mocking her. I think you just don't pay attention to what's going on.
No,
when she takes front and stage as the Democratic nominee, you're like, why is everybody mad? It's like, dude, we've been making fun of her and criticizing her on these things the entire time. She's the VP.
Barely. She would have no weight And then all of a sudden now, I mean, obviously she's a nominee, so there's a new spotlight shined on her. So like, but it's just, you can see the whole, like, I'm supposed to dislike the opposing candidate mentality. And it can become very disturbing.
You are just so out of touch, Ian.
No, well, not really.
I think
I'm
just
very
sucks.
aware.
She just sucks. It's easy to go from Biden sucks to Kamala sucks because they both suck.
But like the idea that Kamala isn't casting the tie-breaking votes on the Inflation Reduction Act, which was a huge deal, the argue that when she was named border czar and then was doing these interviews where she was like, well, I've never been to Europe, and was constantly in the press as a source of ridicule, but you aren't paying attention. So all of a sudden, when the media starts talking about her because she's the front runner for the Democrats, you're like, why is everybody mad? Bro, people have been criticizing her for things the whole time.
Everybody deserves legitimate criticism. It's when people just turn the vague, I dislike the opposing candidate criticism on the new
VP.
candidate. Yeah.
She's the vice
She was going to be the VP again for Biden's second term
And that's
then
why people
fade
don't
into
like
the
her.
distance.
And that's why
no
people
one
don't like her.
cared. No one was going to talk about
That's
her.
not true. They talked about her nonstop.
No one talked about Kamala Harris nonstop 3 years ago, dude. No one cared about Kamala Harris 2 years ago.
How much?
It was
All
only
right,
until
all
like
right.
3 months ago that she's got any obsessive media attention.
How much you want to put on that? How much money?
Well, I'm not, okay, that's hyperbolic. Of course, some people talked about her once in a while.
She
Maybe every
dominated
3 or 4
news
weeks she'd get
cycles.
like an article that we'd even see.
And
or that
why
I
is
even
that?
see.
And so now you're conceding the point.
And now people are like talking about her like she's been bad the whole time. Like, okay, maybe she has. But where was that criticism a year and a half ago?
It was everywhere.
It was not.
How much you want to put on that?
That it was everywhere, you lose instantly. It's not everywhere.
I will do Google searches and I will select month by month, and I can do this, and I can pull up all the news cycles she's done.
I'm talking about Twitter. I'm talking about commentators on Twitter that I know personally that are like, now I must dislike this one.
Right. I said
who's it going to be?
Let's
find out.
So you're talking about a handful of people that you personally follow, but you're criticizing literally every
And the people
single
that listen to this show, people that all of a sudden it's like now we'll slip out that name and put it's like, dude.
Yeah,
Just
you're
be
wrong.
Critical for specific reasons, yes, but don't just criticize someone because you want them to lose.
I remember the cycle when she said Russia is a big country and Ukraine is a small country, and that it was wrong to invade. Like, she had so many news cycles that we criticized her over that she was in the press. Now that she's running for the president, she's dominating that news coverage, sure. But the criticism people have over her is the legitimate criticism, and it's worse than Biden for the obvious reason of Biden could not sign these bills without her casting the tie-breaking vote. She's in the Senate and in the executive branch. She was giving a layup to Biden that he would not have gotten were she not the tiebreaker. But we're going to go to the members-only show, so smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Head over to timcast.com right now for that members-only uncensored show, which is going to be fun and not so family-friendly. You can follow me on X at Timcast. Once again, smash that like button. Joel, do you want to shout anything out?
Well, thanks for having me back on the show. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I know personally from having put Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert on to Timcast that the Timcast audience is super loyal. Everyone in the chat, they're dedicated patriots, and they have a lot of powerful insight to say. And so it's interesting to learn from the audience and to come on the show and feel its impact. It's great. So if you want to follow me, I'll be posting behind-the-scenes stuff of what's happening on Capitol Hill at Real Joel Valdez. But yeah, just thanks for having me back on.
I will corroborate what you say. The people in the chat are brilliant. A lot of the people that watch this show are really tuned into what's happening. And I appreciate you all in the chat putting up with my dissonance. That is a big part of what I enjoy to do, is shake you up, shake myself up in the process. I've been streaming like a fucking madman the last 2 weeks. I've been going 8 hours a day. It's epic. So come join me on my YouTube channel, X, and Twitch, where we'll be playing video games nonstop, dude. I'm just pouring myself into it. It's fucking great, dude. It's really nice. It's actually very, very good. It's very fun. Other than that, I've been playing a lot of music. So check out my music stuff on Instagram and X, and I'll catch you later. Ian Crossland.
Joel, I'm so glad you were here. It's so fun to see you again. And you are a very interesting person to talk to about their professional career. So I'm glad you tell us a little about what you're doing these days. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. That's Scanner News. Check out all of our work at Timcast News on the internet. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm Hannah Claire B. On Instagram, I'm HannahClaire.B. Again, thanks for everything you guys do. Joel's right. You guys are an amazing crowd. So we're lucky to have you. Have a good night.
We will see you all over at timcast.com in about a minute. Thanks for hanging out.